Windsor estate, the police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation and development on this story involving the Epstein files and all the allegations that have been swirling around about Andrew over the many years, from Virginia Giuffre, now sadly deceased, and since then, and certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. But the police have arrived at Sandringham Estate this morning, where Andrew has made his new home. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is. He has been arrested by the police. Of course, the brother of the current king, the second son of our late Queen Elizabeth. This is an extraordinary development. Those of us who've been talking an awful lot about establishment cover-ups and lack of, should we say, interest by the police in what are very, very serious allegations against Andrew. Perhaps pleased that that pressure has finally been put on the police, and they have done the job of actually looking into these issues seriously. Must bear in mind, of course, that the Prince has not been charged with any crime at this point, and he has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to any of the allegations about him. We'll give you more on that. We'll talk to you about that throughout the show, but I'm just being told that the arrest has been on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This, of course, relates to those Epstein file allegations and the documents that, if they are true, would suggest that he had, it is alleged, passed on basically what was confidential government information when he was the UK trade envoy for this country for 10 years to Jeffrey Epstein for Jeffrey Epstein's financial gain.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It is, of course, Thursday, the 26th of February. Like you give a damn. It is the home of common sense. It's the home of the alarm clock Brit. Yes, you. Maybe you're crawling back after a night shift. You're knackered. You're wondering what's wrong with the world. Maybe you're up and at it already in the van, in the car, on the way to work. You are very welcome to the show. I'm going to do this throughout the morning because I don't know when he's listening. I got into a cab, a London cab yesterday, and I met the most amazing young man. I say young. He's younger than me. Everybody is. Gareth, good morning, me old stories. From Raheny in Dublin. He's a massive Talk fan. Did you like that impression now? Gareth, Raheny, black cabs, and the first thing he said to me was, I am sick to death of what Khan is doing for my profession in this city. Good man. Lovely to have you on board. As ever, as we read through what's going on, get those calls and texts in nice and early. Text to 87222. You can, of course, send your voice note to a rather, I would say, stubbly Christian this morning. He hasn't shaved for a while. 0344 499 1000. Who will be first with a voice note? What's happening? Well, it's another U-turn on the cards. I was working yesterday afternoon and got all these sort of, what's happening with the Chagos Islands? A minister, Hamish, don't know his second name, stood up in the Commons and said, we're pausing it while we speak to Donald Trump, who's not very happy. Then number 10 said, no, we're not. And they went, oh, yes, sorry, bugger it, we are. Complete confusion. Starmer, yet again, the incompetent git. The Chagos Islands, you know that bit of land that we own, we're giving away? Plus £35 billion, despite the fact we're skint. Let's forget what the Chagossian people want. Let's give it to Mauritius. That'd be a nice idea, because they're friends with China and we'll all be skint. They won't be, but we will be. U-turn number 16 on the cards by a man who really is on his knees. Yesterday as well, don't know if you heard this, the Met Police apologised. Apparently the person who tipped off the police about Mandelson's alleged skip to the British Virgin Islands was Sir Lindsay Hoyle. He's now up to his neck in it, the Speaker. He made an announcement and said, yes, it was me. Why? Did he no idea. Lord Mandelson isn't even in Parliament. He is, of course, in the Lords, but I'm not sure if that's the responsibility of the Speaker. We'd love your thoughts on that. The Met Police getting something wrong? What a shock. 0344 499 1000. Yesterday, G-Spot, Damien told me, it was warmer in the United Kingdom than it was in Dallas. And you won't be surprised to know that, as predicted, due to that weather, 545 new illegal migrants in 10 small boats crossed the Channel. That means the total, since the Plum became Prime Minister, is over 66,000. 8,000 illegal migrants. This is also rather galling, not just the numbers, the fact that they've worked out, brilliant piece in The Sun today. You know all that money we give France? That's about £8,000 for each Channel migrant they've stopped. So everyone they've gone, no, sorry, you can't come in. They said, well, we'll just give you £8,000. There you are, the British hard-working alarm clock taxpayer being utterly screwed by our government. This morning's a great show. I think one of the strictest and yet best head teachers in the world, Catherine Bubblesing, on this show, responding to that story that boys can wear dresses in class. And Samara Gill, what an amazing piece of work this is. Later on, she speaks to a man who claims that his father was a grooming gang rapist and has been searching for the truth for as many numbers. And after 9, I should say, this is really important, Robert Jenrick, Shadow Chancellor under reform, will be here. Ring Rob after 9. It's all coming up. But my day is complete, as many of yours will be as well, because after a slight hiatus, moving in with a boyfriend, she's back. Poppy Coburn, good morning.
Good morning.
It'll start now. Oh, hello, Poppy. Welcome back to the Poppy Show. We've missed you.
Oh, I missed you too.
I had to put up with that Charlie Rowley crap compared to you.
Oh, that must have been nightmarish. They're calling it the Charlie and Jez show.
I didn't like it. No.
It's not the same.
We've missed you. We've missed you. You've missed all the fun. Let's get straight to it. Let's try and act surprised. Page 2 of The Sun. I mean, which is, I've got papers everywhere. I mean, absolutely. Chagos. I mean, honestly, this is like... I was working yesterday afternoon and we received this, apart from the fact that a government minister said one thing and then Number 10 said another. They are pausing a deal that most of us think is barking mad because Donald Trump doesn't fancy it, which we all said all along.
It's like this government has, like, magic powers, how to make their stupid policies as hateful as possible. You know, it's not just that the Chagos deal makes no sense. As many times as they tried to explain it. I know they even had David Lammy's ex-spad, Benjida, who tried to explain it a couple of weeks ago when he left. I read the article and I was like, sorry, so we're still giving them money to take something that's ours? Doesn't make sense.
And when you're skint, when you're cutting services, when the country's at its wit's end because it's being taxed to death. Oh, sorry, it's really important because of international maritime law. Yeah, pull the other one. But I would say about this particular aspect of the deal, the funniest thing to me is that Keir Starmer apparently can't talk to his ministers. Why? Well, he can't anyway, because nobody likes him.
Well, clearly not, because if he could talk to his ministers, then he wouldn't be U-turning on deals all the time. One person who's supposed to be in charge of the deal, Hamish Falconer, say, oh, yeah, the deal's on pause. Yeah, the Don has said that I'm not interested anymore, so we're pulling it. And Number 10 goes, oh, no, we're not. No, we're carrying on with the deal. We're definitely carrying on with it. So as soon as Number 10 says something, you can, start your clocks, because you know that they're going to U-turn within probably 24 hours.
The machinations of this government, seriously, Number 10, are extraordinary. I repeat, yesterday afternoon, everybody went, oh, my God, U-turn number 16 is on the cards. Hamish, is he Charlie Faulkner's son?
Is he Lord Faulkner? It says Mr. Faulkner here, but he may not be the son of the non-hereditary Lord Faulkner, yeah,
Blair's mate, yeah. So he stands up and goes, no, we're pausing, Donald Trump isn't very happy. And we all went, hurrah! And then Number 10 says no, and then later Number 10 says... You do wonder, I mean, we've had people losing their jobs, McSweeney and all those people, that just seem incapable of any sort of reasonable, organised... Well, it's chaos, isn't it? It says it in The Sun, chaos.
It's total chaos. You know, I've said it before, it's like the very last days of the Conservative Party, post-Truss, where everyone's just sitting around knowing that, like, we are a dead party walking.
Yeah.
It's over. But what's so remarkable is that they've managed to achieve this in a year and a half. Not even a year and a half. They'd already achieved it in 6 months, and it had all fallen apart.
And I get, you just said your point there about him, about how, he doesn't obviously speak to his ministers. The machinations of Whitehall are out of control. Yeah. They don't say... And then he has to turn up every Wednesday at Prime Minister's Question Time, and it's become sort of absolute viewing. Because the thing about the man is you could actually step back from it and say, are you so inept that you don't know what people are saying? Kemi Badenoch needs an absolute medal for what she did yesterday. I mean, I've got to play this clip because this is extraordinary. She basically took him on because he dared to criticise her party. Come on, Kemi, show us your worth.
The Prime Minister has the cheek to talk about my party being smaller. His party is smaller too, including one MP who was arrested for child sex offences. Yeah. So perhaps before he gets on his high horse, he should ask why his backbenchers are saying that they're being called the Pedo Defenders Party. Yeah. I know they don't like it, Mr. Speaker, but I haven't said anything that's not true, have I?
She's absolutely right.
She's spot on. She's absolutely spot on. I mean, seriously, it's like everything that could have gone wrong for Labour has gone wrong, and now they have this stench of sleaze about them as well, which I do think is a sign when you know when someone's like on the way out.
And that stench won't go.
No, it won't go away because it seems every week there's a new revelation.
I mean, we actually, the job that we do, you'll back me on this. We just wait every afternoon, Christian and I, for the latest debacle that's going to come out of number 10. I mean, we talk about dead man walking. I mean, those May elections can't come soon enough. I think if you look at it, I watched Phillipson yesterday. She doesn't believe a word that she's saying. No. I don't think any of them have any direction. Where Streeting's gone to ground, because he's finished. Yeah. It's an extraordinary moment, isn't it?
I go over and over in my head about which is the worst minister. Bridget Phillipson definitely has had her time in the sun this week because she's been so remarkably terrible.
Who is that? Let's do that. Let's make that a little text competition. The first hour of the show, we'll offer a prize. What prize should we offer? I've got a banana or some fruit. 87222. Who is? Forget Starmer. Who is the worst?
Frontbencher.
I mean, you've got Lammy. He wants to cancel juries. He got nothing out of 20 in Mastermind. He's one big idiot, isn't he? We've got Bridget Phillipson, who looks like Rachel Reeves' half-sister. They both look like Richard III. Have you noticed that?
It's the Bob. It's the Bob.
And what was it? Please find this out, because somehow I read this. The business... Oh, yes, the business secretary. Who's the business secretary? Do we know who the business secretary is?
Oh, goodness, what's his name?
Peter Kyle. Nothing to do with me, said yesterday, the magic happens if we realign to the EU. Oh. The magic happens if we realign to the EU. Sorry, I thought we'd done it. Jonathan Reynolds, who's now the chief whip, who was the business secretary, but he lied on his CV. He wasn't a solicitor.
He did a Rachel Reeves.
Rachel Reeves has lied. And yesterday, there was a minister, is it the corruption minister or something, is being looked at again? I mean, the whole thing is farcical. 87222, who's the most useless Labour frontbencher? Who do you think
you can only pick one.
You can only pick one. Yeah, Poppy will decide. There's confusion. I want to play the clip, actually, of Hugo Faulkner. I don't know who... Do we know what his role is? What's Hugo Faulkner's role? Is he...
He's in the Foreign Office.
Hamish. Oh, it's Hamish. Oh, hold on. G-Spot's just shouted at me. Get it right, it's Hamish. Damien telling me to get it right is a bit like... I've no idea. Anyway, this is him announcing Hamish. Why did he do that? The Chagos deal is dead in the water. Have a listen.
To be clear about the current position, as he knows, there was support for from the US administration for this treaty, which has not changed. There clearly has been a statement from the President of the United States more recently, which is very significant. And as I told the House, we are now discussing those concerns with the United States directly. We have a process going through Parliament in relation to the treaty. We will bring that back to Parliament at the appropriate time. We are pausing for discussions with our American counterparts.
So everybody in the media went, pausing, oh my God, it's a U-turn. And then number 10 said, no, we're not. And then later on they said, he's a minister, is he?
Yeah.
Honestly, I have no interest, but you look at that and you go, that is a minister of the Crown. Is he going to make the list? Oh, Jez, a happy Thursday. My day is very good because Poppy is on the television. Get her a presenter's job, preferably yours, says Stephen Cambridge. Great. Morning, Jez and Poppy. Liam from Accrington here. The money we send to France, what are they spending the money on? It's obviously not on stopping the migrants. Hope you both have a great day. Are we going to have a great day today?
Oh, I hope so.
Yes.
The weather might be nice at least.
Well,
even
you've got
if
your
the
summer
political
dress on.
stories aren't so pleasant. Yeah, you've got to be optimistic.
Simon from Nottingham, and he says, my father and grandfather fought and died for this country to keep our country safe from British. What would they think now? What have they thought for? Loads of migrants, different genders, corrupt royals, and a PM that shouldn't be allowed to run a bath. That sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, let's say a very good morning to Ian. How are you, Ian?
Morning, Jez. Ian from Monfort. Welcome back, Pops. We've missed you. Going to the French, stop giving them all this money. It's clearly not working. It's about time we revoke some fishing licences for all these boats that they're letting come across the channel. I'm not really bothered about a diplomatic incident. Enough is enough. Let's start being tough with people. We're just being walked all over. Anyway, keep up the good work.
He's right, isn't he?
Yeah, completely.
I mean, I'm going to repeat the story. As predicted due to the weather yesterday, it was warmer than Dallas. Thank you, G-Spot. 545 migrants arrived on 10 separate boats, and the amount of money that we give France is something like 700 billion, million, I don't know. £8,000 we're paying them for each person. Yeah. They've stopped, and still they come. And I saw an article, Christian, somewhere. They come in within 30 minutes, just wave through. Come in, please. Yeah. You're 11, are you? Yeah, I know you've got a beard. Don't worry, please come in.
You know something I discovered, which is so perverse, but it sums up how ridiculous our border situation is. I was told by someone that because we're an island nation, it's more difficult for us to deal with our border than it is for a landlocked country in Europe, because you're not allowed to say you can't come through if it's a water border, because people might die, people might drown. So despite the fact in common sense would tell you that being an island means we should have more secure borders.
You would have thought.
Because of the human rights regime, we've got to be a taxi service instead. Whereas at least if we were landlocked,
isn't it?
Yeah, at least if we were landlocked, we could put up a big fence or a wall, a border wall, as Donald Trump would have it. I mean, isn't that just so mad?
So as an island, we under human rights law.
Borders. Yeah.
Sorry, it's another one of those moments where everybody in the control room's mouth has just dropped on the floor.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that story is, but one of the stories in one of the papers says they literally take 30 minutes to be... But they're not being processed, they're being waved through.
I was going to say, I've waited longer for an Uber before. It's just, every other interaction you'll have with the state, you're waiting around, you're treated like rubbish, despite the fact you're paying for these services for your taxes. And yet, if you break into the country illegally, you get everything quickly.
Can I moan? I flew last week, and honestly, I thought, I know what's going to happen. Arrived at Gatwick at whatever time it was. I thought, and my kids have started calling me Victor Meldrew, and honestly, oh my God, turn the corner to arrive at Border Force, right? Genuinely, bloody loads of people.
Yeah.
Took an hour, right? Yeah. Now, you're going to go, what are you moaning about? Because if I'd arrived on a boat in bloody Dover, it would have taken me half an hour. And then I'm really arsey and I want to say to the bloke behind... And I don't think the Border Force guy spoke English, and I'm being completely honest. Yeah. The whole thing's farcical, isn't it?
It's a total joke. It's a total joke. And that's why I think, anyone who says anything that, oh, it's so confusing, it's very difficult, you've got to change all these policies, you've got to come out of these treaties. No. OK, look, that might be true, but just do it.
Make a decision.
If you haven't got a border, everything else is a waste of time.
We spend our lives in this country under this government going, we can't do that because of this, and we can just do it.
Just do it.
And wait to see if anybody sees you, but they won't because they can't. The truth of the matter, won't because they don't want to. The truth of the matter is, I'm utterly convinced, Pops, right, that the majority of Britons now are at a point where they're going, I'm not racist, I'm not far right, I'm a very decent, honest, moral person who works hard and pays his bills, but you know what? Why am I being treated worse than people who should not be in this country? And Keir Starmer and his ilk cannot and will not answer that, ever.
I completely agree. It's just so depressing to me that the advent of spring, the first sunny day that we have, where you can go, oh, maybe I'm not going to wear my big wool coat today, I can actually enjoy the weather, is also the day that the boats start coming over again.
Of course.
Why is that a seasonal marker?
Richard says it takes longer to get through passport control in Alicante than it does to get into Britain. He's absolutely right. Morning to Mark in Croydon. Morning, Poppy and Jezza. I'd vote for Lisa Nandy. It's a nonsense title. Culture, media and sport. The country erodes its culture. The BBC making up whatever they want. Thankfully, she hasn't stopped Arsenal topping the league. I think that must be the cushiest job, culture, media and sport, don't you?
I was going to say, Lisa Nandy, she's kind of been a bit out of the news recently, precisely because she's got a gig that's more pleasant than the rest.
I'd love to be the culture media. I mean, honestly, I'd close the BBC and go to every sporting event ever known to man. Morning, Jez, says Suze. Suze? S-O... I don't know. Worst front bencher, Mrs. Balls, on the ground she's been the worst performer for the longest time ever. Mrs. Balls. It was Mr. Balls' birthday yesterday. I don't even know why I said that. Sharon Miller. Hats off to Kemi. She's doing a wonderful job for the Tory government, says Sharon.
Tory government?
I don't think we have a Tory government.
I'm not sure we will have one again.
Let's say a very good morning to John. Morning, Johnny.
Morning, Jezza. It's John in Suffolk here. Just my roundup of the news today. I've got an offer for you. I've got a beautiful garden with a beautiful pond. I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to pay you £5,000 a month to have it, as long as you let me come and walk around the pond. Also, I don't think the sums are quite right regarding the amount of money we're paying France. If you divide the amount of money we paid them by the amount of people that they've stopped, it works out around about £31,400 per person, not 8,000. It's a beautiful day. If it's going to be lovely, warm and sunny again, yeah, good day for Rubber Dinghy Rapids.
6:20, just as she blows her nose. He's right, though. You want to take it up with the Mail about how much it is. I thought we give them 500 million a year or something ludicrous, right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is 66,000 elite. And I met somebody the other day. I wished you were with me. This person went, but there are women and children on board. No, there aren't. No, there aren't.
We've all seen the videos. We've all seen the photos.
That is... It's men, young men, who arrive here, throw their passports over the edge and get away with everything, don't they?
Yeah, we know that the vast majority of people that are coming through the small boats are unaccompanied males.
Yeah.
And I think the figures also get slightly fudged because people will say, oh, well, there's this proportion of children, but they're not. They're basically men who have thrown away their passports, as you've said, and then go, oh, I'm 16, I'm a 16-year-old boy. Meanwhile, they've got a receding hairline.
Yeah.
and a full bushy beard.
Size 11 feet and an Adam's apple with a big hair sticking out of. 6:21, you're very welcome to Talk Breakfast. Poppy is back, ladies and gentlemen. The legend that is Poppy Coburn, assistant comment editor at The Daily Telegraph. We're looking through the papers. You're waking up to the news that another U-turn is probably on the cards. Number 16. We're going to pause the Chagos Island deal because we know it's a good deal, giving away 35 billion quid and something we already own, because Donald Trump's not happy. Right, so Donald Trump's now writing our foreign policy. Brilliant. And, as Poppy just said, the weather's improving. And yesterday, another 545,000, no, I'm joking, 545 migrants arrived. The total since Starmer became Prime Minister is 66. Millions of pounds to the French who are taking the mickey. What do you make of it? 0344 499 1000. Back in 3.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense? Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. You know, I do believe that economies can be fixed and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
Gay. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 6:25. You're waking up to Talk's the home of common sense. It's the home of the alarm clock Brits. It is Thursday and Poppy Coburn is here, which is very exciting news. Morning both, says Barry. I'm sat in a packed A&E, have been for hours, and all I see is migrants walking in and getting treated before me. I'm getting mightily hacked off. Interesting. Morning, Jez and Poppy. The UK is an island. Isn't Australia an island too? They managed to control their immigration issues, just that our government doesn't want to. This is your story. Can you please, for people tuning in, just repeat what you were told the other day about why we can't control our borders?
Well, this is why it's relevant, because Australia's not in the European Court of Human Rights. If you're an island nation it's much more difficult to control your borders than it would if you were landlocked, because you've got the water around you, which is obviously supposed to make it more difficult for people to get in. But if they can get over on a boat, you have to do a taxi service, basically. You have to pick them up.
Because they could drown.
Because they could drown. So it's apparently our responsibility to look after the welfare of people breaking in. It's like if someone, was climbing out the side of your house to try and get into your bedroom, they fell off and someone said, well, you've got to put a ladder there, otherwise they might break their neck. It's completely mad.
But that is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That is what we're
That's
dealing
the
with.
reality.
There's an answer. A lot of people don't agree with this. I wouldn't let them set foot. I would have the Navy in the Channel and I would pick them up from their boats and take them to a reconditioned liner, I've said it before, where I would have a crack team of Border Force officials who would process them, not have the wool pulled over their eyes because they'd have a brain cell in their heads, and they would do the job, right? They would do the job within 24 hours. And by the way, if you've got a right to be here, well, we're open arms.
Yeah.
If you haven't, you're going to a detention centre, which I'm probably going to build on the Orkney Islands, no disrespect to the Scottish, right? And make it particularly harsh so that you bugger off back and you tell everybody else we're not a soft touch anymore.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. My good old mate Ian Hayward, morning me old son, he said, I drove a Border Force guy the other day, Jez, and he said the queues are so bad, they're still... I'm not a technophobe, I'm a bit of a technophobe. They're still using government running Windows 7 and the government won't update technology.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's about as old as I am.
Is it?
it's really old, I'm afraid. But it doesn't surprise me. I think there are parts
You've got to
of the
remember that I remember what do you remember what a VDU was?
What?
It's not a sheep disease. A VDU was one of the... Do you guys see what I did there, VDU? It was a sort of... I'm that old, so I don't understand. Is Windows 7 crap?
Oh, yeah. It's properly old. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. The government uses loads of old technology. I think the NHS still has fax machines.
I've got one of them. What's wrong with that? I've got a fax machine.
Okay, come on.
You think I'm joking?
I don't even know what they do.
Bill's taking exception with us this morning. 66,000 illegal migrants since Starmer won the election. You're misreading his motives, Jez. You see... And I see, and the country sees 66,000 illegals. He sees 66 extra thousand votes in 2029. Let's face it, every illegal is going to be granted asylum and given unlimited benefits before the next election. And guess who they will vote for? Morning, Pops. And I suppose, Jez, a dead cat here, a dead cat there, and through all the distractions, Starmer is systematically, bit by bit, giving Gibraltar away whilst we look the other way. Is he giving Gibraltar away? I've no idea. Has that got monkeys on it?
I hope they don't give it away. I'd like to go there one day.
Have you not been to Gibraltar?
No.
It's the scariest place to take off from.
Scary?
No, it's weird, because you suddenly, the wings are out, and then suddenly you're over the water.
Wow.
And then you have this wonderful flight across the sea, and then you land in Great Britain. And 14 hours later, you get through passport control, whilst migrants in boats just come straight through. We set this challenge. I've only got a banana as a prize. 87222. Who's the worst front bencher? David Lammy by far, says Paul in Devon. A country mile ahead, a galaxy in front of the other buffoons on the front bench. Labour are so pro-EU because they cannot run the country by themselves. And what about Gibraltar? And what are they doing there? What's happened with Gibraltar? Are we missing the point this morning? What's happening?
I haven't heard about this Gibraltar story, but again, I would not be surprised if this awful government decided they wanted to give away Gibraltar as well.
Let's just give everything away. No, why don't we give away your jobs? That's what we should. Morning, Jez and Pops. Drag the illegals straight back to France with the Navy. I mean, somebody sent me, Roger from Wales, governments have broken the contract with the people numerous times, so we shouldn't have to abide by the policies. Yeah, listen, I couldn't agree more. Maybe manifestos should be legally binding. I find the whole thing, the whole illegal migrant thing, almost... I find it confusing, because it has to come down to will.
Yeah.
It's not... I don't understand how it's so difficult.
Well, yeah, again, it's just like... We've spoken before about the excuse that people use, which is how complicated it is, and we'd have to pull out of all these international treaties.
Do it.
But people were fed up of this 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good enough to say how complicated it is and we'd have to pull out of treaties. People want to see you take any action, up to and including calling in the Royal Navy to actually turn the boats back themselves and calling a national emergency. Anything it takes to stop the boats. And I think, I've said before, the next government, if they can't fix the boats problem in the first year that they're in power, they'll be just as, like dead as a dodo like Starmer will be.
Couldn't agree more. Who is the worst? Who is the worst front bencher? Morning, Matt.
Hiya, Poppy. Great to have you back. Oh, hiya, Jez. Matt in Warrington loading the van again. So, who's the worst front bencher? of the Labour Party. Well, it's got to be the leader, hasn't it? Because Keir Starmer's got to be the worst. He's got to be the biggest imbecile of the lot because he appointed all these half-wits. He went round every single village in the United Kingdom and picked the biggest idiots and then appointed them into ministerial roles. And they don't realise it. I hope the backbenchers wake up and smell the coffee. Great show, Poppy. See you later, Jezza. Bye.
Honestly, why do I bother? Why do I bother getting out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning just so they can come in and go, oh, Poppy, love you. They all love you. By the way, just some latest on Gibraltar, and fair play to the people that sent in. Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel claimed yesterday a treaty draft has been agreed at Labour to hand the rock over to Spain, but they're too frightened to bring it to Parliament yet.
Oh, no.
Honestly, what? We're giving away what? And all those people. I know what it is. The human rights lawyers will go, "Oh, it's the colonists. Give it away. Give it away." Nobody bothers to ask the Gibraltarians. Is that what you call them? I don't know. Spanish.
That's the same with the Falklands Islands. I'm sure they'll be trying to give that back to Argentina as soon as they can as well.
Apparently, Gibraltar will remain British, but must follow EU rules under its new Brexit deal. The full legal text of the agreement has revealed. Honestly, I don't. I know I'm accused of moaning every day. If I was the Prime Minister of this country right now, or you were the Prime Minister, I think we'd have the intelligence to go, right, so old people haven't been able to heat their houses, farmers are being screwed, we've got energy prices going through the roof still, despite his denials, all that stuff, and we're sitting here pretending everything's fine. Can we talk about that, by the way?
Yeah.
The Prime Minister, do you know what community noted means?
Yes, yeah, this is, say, if you paste on X. It's a fantastic feature, which I've used myself, actually. If you post something on X and the community disagrees with what you're saying because it's a load of, I can't say that word.
Go on, say it.
Morning, it's a load of rubbish. Then you can do a community note, which is where you send in a submission where you basically say, no, that's wrong, this is actually what's been happening. And I think Keir Starmer has got to be the most community-noted Prime Minister in history, because every time he posts something, it's full of rubbish, and so people tell him so.
This is him in the Commons saying, and I quote, I've lowered energy bills by £117. Have a listen.
The news this morning, Mr Speaker, 7 a.m, energy bills coming down by £117 for millions of families and young people struggling. That's guaranteed money off bills in April, driven by the action that this Labour government has taken. We promised to cut the cost of living. We are cutting the cost of living.
But he was lying, because several hours later, X, the community, said energy bills are actually 73 quid more expensive than when Labour came into power. July 2024, 1,568 quid. April 2026, £1,641.73. Is he just completely stupid? Seriously?
It's so funny. So the whole big policy that Ed Miliband has been coming out and saying, you know, we cut your energy bills. We've done that. That's the difference the Labour government can make. If you actually go through what they did in the budget, even that community note isn't harsh enough on them, because yes, while overall energy bills have risen, they've risen by even more of that, but you wouldn't realise it because you're paying for it out of general taxation.
Of course you are.
They've hidden it in the general taxation bill, so you're still paying all that money every time you get your paycheck at the end of the month.
They're not even clever enough to lie constructively, are they?
No.
I mean, honestly, he stands up with good news this morning at 7 o'clock, energy bills are... Well, they're not, they've risen. I don't know. We've had rid of the Chief of Staff, 3 of them. We've had rid of the Communications Director. Yeah. Is nobody able to... You just love to go in this morning and go, right, listen, Keir, OK? I can put it... I can lie or I can be straight.
Yeah.
Most people think you're a complete idiot, OK? Most of what comes out of your mouth is proven to be incorrect. We need to work on this because it looks rubbish. OK. Honestly, I don't even want to do that because it just annoys me so goddamn much, and we haven't even talked about veterans. There was a story yesterday which you would be much better at talking about than me. Mandelson gets arrested at 4:30 the other afternoon, ashen-faced. He walks from his house, 7.6 million, wonder who bought that. And some hours later is released and immediately goes on the offensive, as the Prince of Darkness is his wont, saying, I've been arrested despite agreeing to talk to the police in 2 weeks. They've panicked, they thought I was fleeing the country, this is absolute rubbish, and this has been sent by somebody and the truth will come out. Yesterday, well, actually, listen, the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hall, said this.
Members will be aware of comments in the media regarding the arrest of Lord Mandelson. To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media, as this is a live investigation. Members will understand that it would not be appropriate to make any further comment, and I'd like to caution members from doing so.
Can you help me with this, right?
Yeah.
He got information as the Speaker of the House of Commons about information that he thought was useful to the police over Mandelson. But Mandelson's a lord.
Yeah.
So what's Hoyle getting involved for? And the Met Police yet again proving themselves to be why would you tell the Met Police anything?
This whole story is completely bizarre, which is exactly how I thought when I read about it yesterday. So Lindsay Hoyle said to the Metropolitan Police that he had it on good authority that he thought that Peter Mandelson was going to flee to the British Virgin Islands.
Which, by the way, is a British colony, territory or whatever, and we could have extradited him. Yeah, no, we're giving him away. We give him away tomorrow. After Gibraltar.
He's gone to the Chagos Islands next.
Yeah. Well, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right, exactly. So that is one aspect which is slightly bizarre, because he's not actually fleeing necessarily out of our jurisdiction.
No.
The other thing that is strange is that Lindsay Hoyle said that he knows this because he was there on holiday while he was holiday making in the British Virgin Islands, which is a bit random. I mean, I've never been myself, but okay, fine. So there's somehow apparently been a coincidence that Lindsay Hoyle just so happened to find out this information while he was on holiday.
Wasn't he in trouble before for lots of freebies, Hoyle, wasn't he?
Well,
is he covering his own back? It's so
weird.
The whole thing is so dodgy.
It's really good, and I can't actually find any further information about this. What I do know is that the Metropolitan Police, upon receiving this tip-off, this slightly bizarre tip-off from Lindsay Hoyle, then made such a dog's dinner of it that they managed to announce that it was Lindsay Hoyle who had done it, which, you know, I don't know about you, but if you're a whistleblower or you pass on, you know, confidential information that helps their investigation...
Just unbelievable.
Do they give you a shout-out now? Is it like a nightclub?
The whole thing just sums up the government, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's incompetence. It's like
it's just stupidity,
a lack of transparency.
But it's just stupidity.
Well, yeah, that's a simpler way of putting it.
You wake up every day and you think, no, we're going in today, it's going to be absolutely fine, and it gets worse. Morning, Poppy. If we are duty-bound to pick up people in the Channel, then why don't we just take them straight back to France in the same boat, says Paul in Wiltshire. Very good point, by the way. Christian, top producer, I'm calling him executive producer, said... Does anybody in government work out when it stops peeing with rain and it's less cold and the sun comes out and spring arrives, more people are going to come? So why don't we have more? Why don't we have more people on patrol? Why don't we have more border force? Well, the ones that can't tell a woman from a boy from a grown man. I don't quite know how they get the jobs. Are these? I mean, the border force people. Can we have this discussion without upsetting people? Who trains these idiots?
Well, the Home Office. So. Says everything you need to know, doesn't it?
Morning, Poppy and JK. Westminster has to be nodding Richard III, and no Wes Streeting, no Shabana, and no Miss Balls yesterday. Are they all on manoeuvres, says Margaret in Birmingham? Possibly. Morning, Jez. The Westminster is Rachel. I'm dreading the summer, warmer months. How many more illegals can this country take? Nikki the cleaner. Sorry, Jez, did I miss something yesterday in Kemi's PMQs? Not one question on veterans, not one question on Matthew Doyle, not one question on Starmer's appointment of Mandelson after his arrest, not one question on grooming gangs, and not one damn question on the Chagos Islands. Perhaps you can ask Starmer what the purpose of Prime Minister's question is and see if he can even answer that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it now just feels like PMQs every week is just an excuse for people to sit around and laugh at Keir Starmer, which is obviously an enjoyable exercise.
Can I just say, without wanting to appear biased in any which way, tune in every day to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, because we laugh at the incompetent Starmer for 4 hours, 4 days a week. Morning, Pete. Morning, Pete.
Good morning, Poppy and Jezza. How are you today? As for those bloody boats, well, you know what? I would see it soon, right? They might as well just string all the boats together and walk across, ain't they? Because nobody's stopping them from coming in. Listen, it's getting to the stage now where it's going to have to be wartime stance. If the Navy can't get out and stop these people, then maybe, right, putting some barbed wire on all the beaches. It's absolutely, I know that's a ridiculous idea, but it stopped the Germans during World War II. Something has to be done now because if this carries on, I can see some sort of civil unrest or civil war in this country. You know, it's too much now. It really is too much.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, welcome back. Just gone 20 to 7. This is Jeremy Kyle on Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense and of alarm clock Brits. And you're waking up to the news that U-turn number 16 is possibly on the way. Starmer's paused in a shocking moment. The Chagos Islands do. You know the one where we're giving away 35 billion quid and land that we own to the Mauritians who don't want it and who are friends with China. Brilliant. That's on the way. As predicted, due to the nice weather, warmer than Dallas yesterday in the United Kingdom, 545 more illegal migrants arrived, taking the total to 66,000 since Starmer became Prime Minister, and making this unbelievably story in the Mail today, which says it's costing us £8,000 for each migrant that comes here, possibly more, because we're giving France money to stop them and they're deliberately not doing it. And just if you think I'm being unfair to Keir Starmer, I'm not. Yesterday he stood up and he said, I have lowered energy bills by £117, and everybody went, that's very, very good, well done. But 2 hours later, X went, no, sorry, you're lying. They're £73 more expensive than when you came to power. So stop lying to the British people. 0344 419 1000, text to 87222. And the shocking sort of news this hour, Pops, that they're secretly apparently going to give away the Gibraltar and the Rock next, and the Monkeys. That's all going as well.
It's just unbelievable. You literally can't make it up. Like, what are they going to try and give away next? The actual United Kingdom?
Well, no, John says Poppy and that other old guy, we're probably handing Gibraltar back so we can establish a Palestinian state there. Nice. Gibraltar, says Anonymous, is being given away to the EU, opening up the border and Spanish border guards having the power to refuse Brits entry to a British country. My parents live there and they are genuinely scared. Thousands of Brits are scared and nobody cares. This is a story that needs investigating. Chagos too. Gibraltar is beautiful and its people and Labour will destroy it all for the pleasure of the EU. That is Anonymous. Morning, Johnny.
Jezza, it's Johnny again. I just want to pick up a couple of things, really. Somebody mentioned A&E and having immigrants standing in front of them. That's because of something called the 987 plan. And they're actually given a card that tells them that in any healthcare setting that they are a priority group and they would get treatment ahead of anyone else. Also, 66,000 people come via small boats. I live very close to a very large port where they're still getting hundreds and hundreds of people turning up on lorries as well. They're not being counted. That's still happening. And what about airports? And what about people overstaying? And what about everything else? Smoke and mirrors, my friend, smoke and mirrors.
Couldn't agree more. It's frightening.
That's a really good point.
I'm just going to speak to Kins and then we need to do your thing again and iron it. Let's build her up. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who is more popular than the sunshine in this country. I give you live from Los Angeles. A very good morning, Kinsey Schofield.
Did Poppy get a haircut?
Did Poppy get a haircut?
No, I'm holding it behind my ears, but thank you for
so chic. So chic I love it.
What
I love
it.
it.
What a girly thing that is. Did Poppy get a haircut? What about me? I've been sticking it on for ages, love.
Well, let me just tell you, my mom said the other day that she thought you were so hot. I have never heard those words come out of her mouth before. I was shook, JK. I hope Victoria's not listening.
I hope she is. I might just jump her into space. Sorry, your mother, Mom Schofield, said I was hot. How old is your mother?
So hot. So hot. She's 20 years older than me, so, 40.
Well, all right, okay. Well, listen, why is it always the mothers? I mean, that's all I'm going to say, but I'll take it. Listen, at my age, with everything heading south, I'm well for that. Kinsey, the world. I read last night, and this is what it gets you on. Epstein, we saw some more emails. The day that Andrew lost his job as the UK trade envoy, where he'd allegedly be brokering deals with lots of friends and passing information on, which is why he was arrested the other day, Epstein blamed Charles for it.
The mean older brother, yes. When Andrew lost his UK trade envoy role in July of 2011, Epstein sends a couple of emails. In one message, he wrote that he assumed this is Charles's doing. And in another, he suggested Andrew would now be free. We've heard that language before, haven't we? Harry and Meghan, finding freedom. He'd be free. There was even an exchange with Ghislaine Maxwell, where after being sent coverage from Epstein, Ghislaine says, why? And Epstein replies, I think he wants to make money.
Oh, what, smelly Ghislaine? Still not washing in the Florida penitentiary. I wanted to ask something yesterday and I forgot. You know these thousands of emails, how did they come upon them? Was it just trawling through his computers? He'd saved everything. How did it come to be that the Epstein files existed in the first place?
This is evidence that they started to archive when they were going to prosecute him before he allegedly killed himself.
Allegedly killed himself? What do you mean by that?
Well, there are question marks surrounding his death.
Well, I'll stick my neck on the line and everybody thinks I'm barking mad. I don't believe that a man, however successful, gets that much influence and that much money unless he's financed by somebody else. Right. How is that war going in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin? That's just my opinion. It's an outspoken one, but there we go. Can we talk about Epstein? Because two things yesterday were brought to my attention that I left a little bit of sick in my mouth. Bill Gates admitted affairs with Russians, but denies illicit behaviour. So he was married and he was popping off on the Lolita Express to have sex with a lot of Russian models and porn stars. Is that right?
Well, and it's just, it sends you back to that Andrew BBC interview where he's like, it's not this, it's that. It's like trying to deflect. So we have a collection of emails from Jeffrey Epstein where he's offering up Russian women, specifically Russian women, to other high-profile individuals. But you're just willing to say, yes, my mistresses were Russian, but they weren't Epstein Russian. I mean, it's just, it's trying. I'm not buying it either because I'm just thinking to myself, it looks too much like Andrew trying to talk his way out of trouble. It's just a little bit of this, but not completely that.
The whole thing is just, and then yesterday, and I can bring Poppy in on this, a photograph was sent to my phone by Christian, and I thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke at all. Stephen Hawking, who is an incredible human being, is pictured in a pair of jeans and a jumper with two really, really young-looking, half-naked models holding a cocktail for him to sip on. Their faces have been blacked out. I don't know what to say, both of you. Could his family have said, right, this is my best bit, Kins, right? They were his carers.
Oh, my God.
His family have said, those two bikini-clad women on Epstein's Island where Russian prostitutes run amok were simply his carers.
I have never seen such hot caregivers. I can confidently say
Sorry,
that.
hot caregivers, did you just say?
We might need to hold a contest so we can find some, but I will also say I've never been in a bikini in front of my employer, and I don't plan to be. I'm getting older, things are going south, so it's probably never going to happen. But I just don't see the appropriateness of throwing on a two-piece in front of the guy that, is paying my rent.
Poppy, I'm with you, Kins. Poppy, Stephen Hawking is a national treasure. He's lying there on his sunbed and he's got two bikini-clad young women holding a cocktail. They are allegedly his carers. Any response?
All I was going to say is I haven't had that many interactions with the NHS, but I have a feeling that those are not exactly the sort of carers you'd expect in a hospital. Also, the caption on that photo that one of the newspapers gave it was Stephen Hawking, pictured here, grinning from ear to ear. Well, you would, wouldn't you, if you were in that situation?
Can you two just give me a minute? Hello. Is that the care home? I'm coming in later after the show. I need a couple of
I need a blonde, I need a brunette.
Well, I was gonna, and yeah, I mean, honestly, mate, the whole thing, and you think you can't get any worse. Stephen Hawking being straddled by two cocktail-holding, careful, young things. I hope your mother...
Well,
I'm the hot one, though. I'm the hot one. Your mother thinks I'm hot. This is unbelievable.
Never forget it. Never forget it. It just goes to show you the reach that Epstein had, the unbelievable access he had to truly significant characters.
Completely.
Yeah. Andrew aside, we won't even acknowledge him, but he just had access to unbelievable people, and it's scary.
Imagine being on Epstein's Island as Prince Andrew and you come out of some massage room where some young Russian woman has given you a rub down and there's Hawking being dealt with by two people. There's Gates in the corner. I mean, it's so vile. It's so wrong. And honestly, we've only got a little bit of time left. Can we please move on? In all of this, I read an amazing article by Amanda Patel this morning in the Daily Mail who said, let's not forget, whilst all of this is going on and Uncle Andrew is in disgrace, Insidel, the ginger one and the odious one, Harry and Meghan, from nowhere, have landed in Jordan, is it, I think, and are doing a 2-day humanitarian tour. Honest to God, she must be rubbing her hands with glee, Meghan. You know, I look good now.
Does she? Well, that's my issue, JK. Like, my concern is that we will see an increase this year in these types of trips because the Sussexes are determined to play the moral superiority card. They want to say, I told you so. They want us to go back and go, oh, maybe they were being honest in the Oprah Winfrey interview, because look at all these negative headlines surrounding the British royal family. And you are my witness, Jeremy Kyle. I have sat here and defended King Charles to the point of embarrassment.
Yep.
If this man does not grow a pair and take away these titles from these ridiculous clowns, I will have to reconsider where my priorities are.
I completely agree. This is nothing more. By the way, did you know that Jordan is one of the favourite hunting grounds of William and Kate? This is an absolute publicity stunt by that odious pair. He looks as miserable as sin. She will have been rubbing her hands together and phoning the latest in a line of 10 PR agents that have gone in the time since they left the royal family. This is all about her again. I wish somebody would have the courage to say to her, and I'm so with you, no title, nobody's interest, stick to jam, you odious cretin, and let us get on with our lives. You're right. King Charles, right, who might end up being interviewed by the police, according to Di Davies, and William, for that sake, needs to do the right thing. He could start getting people back on side by taking titles away from those two grifters. Hate them, sorry, don't like him. People go, are you really unfair to her? No, I'm not. Horrible.
No, I think it's called holding someone accountable.
Yeah.
And we see these visuals where she's trying to copy Diana. She's trying to copy Catherine. You quit your job because you didn't have the backbone, you didn't have the discipline, and you didn't have what it takes to make it as a royal.
No class.
Yeah,
no class.
That too.
I've said before, I used to go to America on a boys' golf trip, and there she is. We watched repeats of Deal or No Deal, and she's box 23 in a boob tube. Terrible. Kinsey Schofield, we love you. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you tomorrow at 6:45. Poppy, that's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, it's literally just unbelievable. I mean, I just think that with Harry and Meghan, they're like vultures, aren't they? They just hang around every stench of scandal. I mean, someone actually told me that apparently he thinks this is his opportunity to get back in.
I don't believe that. He looks as miserable as sin. I'm sorry, I don't want to be upsetting anybody at 5 to 7.
Yeah.
There are 2 words to describe him, and the second is whipped. And I look at him and I think, you've worked it out.
Yeah.
She's a player, man.
Yeah, but do you not think he just kind of thinks this is his opportunity to get back into the UK? like, get rid of Meghan. You know, this is my chance to come back into the country and say, well, you thought I was bad. Look at the scandals of the rest
Well,
of the
dump her and get on a dinghy. You're waking up on Thursday, the 26th of February, to the news that U-turn number 16 could be on the way with the Chagos Islands. We've also had exclusive news this hour that they might plan to give away Gibraltar next. And as Margaret says, what about the Isle of Wight? The Isle of Man? The Isle of Dogs? Honestly, the Isle of Sheppey.
Yeah, don't forget we're an island. They're giving away
Just give away the whole goddamn thing and we'll all go and live. Where are we going to go and live?
I don't know. We're going to have to get in the dinghy and find out.
Top text. Professor Hawkins is perhaps the only one on Epstein's island who had a perfect defence, being completely paralysed from the neck down, says Cliff in Berkshire. That might be absolutely true. I don't really want to go there. Who made me read that? So you're waking up to that news. Met Police have apologised to Lindsay Hoyle. He was the person who gave the info on Mandelson. The Prime Minister's been community noted by X because he stood up yesterday and went, your energy bills are £117 cheaper. No, they're not, you liar. They're 73 quid more expensive. And as the weather improves, 545 illegal migrants have come, making it 66,000. And please, Pops, you've got 1 minute. Repeat what you just said about the island. You've got 1 minute. Go.
So, because we're an island nation, obviously surrounded by the ocean, it's more difficult for us to control our borders than it would be if we were a landlocked country. Because if you're a landlocked country, you can put up a fence and say, well, they just can't come in. But if you're an island nation and someone comes in a boat, you have to pick up the boat because otherwise you're putting people at risk. You're risking their lives.
That, my friend, sums up where we are at. Poppy, you're on tomorrow. We'll speak to you at some point tomorrow. I'm back to do the papers on Monday. We love you. Thank you so much indeed. It's Talk Breakfast. It's almost 7 o'clock. A big morning. A big good morning to the big man. Rob's on in Newcastle. We're heading to the news and we're coming back. We have got one hell of a busy show. James Price, former government advisor, will be next. Get those texts in and those calls. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello from Crowborough, where the local residents are enraged with what has happened to their community merely overnight when just 27 single male asylum seeker illegal migrants were bussed into their military training camp. Behind me are local residents, people from all over the country. Shabana Mahmood has said that this is an effective way of getting rid of those expensive, flashy asylum hotels. But unfortunately, these people are still placed within the community.
Whole town is very afraid because these are unvetted men from countries that are, the government warn us not to go to. I've got an 18-year-old daughter and she gets the bus opposite the camp.
Do you feel safe for her?
No, so that will have to stop. We'll either have to wait with her or take her to wherever she needs to go.
The reason I'm here today is because I live in Crowborough and my family, I've got a wife and children, and just worried about, my wife walking to work and my sons, walking about. Anything can happen, can't it, that nowadays and age, all what's going on, what's happening in this country. So I'm just concerned and frightened,
There was support from other towns, other communities, because of course Shabana Mahmood has threatened other communities, and she said they're going to open site after site after site. Well, I would hope that if she's going to try and do that, she learns some lessons about the way she's done it in Crowborough, because this is not finished. We are not finished objecting to this plan.
Crowborough says no! Crowborough says no! Crowborough says no!
We would urge her to reconsider, and whatever she does, she needs to talk to the people that she's imposing these things on.
You had a direct line to Keir Starmer and Shabana Mahmood. What would you say to them?
Look after your most vulnerable first. It's your priority to look after your vulnerable.
If they're bringing illegal immigrants into a camp in the dead of night, why are they doing that? They're doing that because it's disingenuous, it's dishonest, it's covert, and they're trying to keep the reality away from the local community of what they're actually doing to us. We've now got to the end of the entrance to the camp, we've got cameras, we've got police drones. It's like a cloud that's come over this community.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. A very good morning to you. Just gone 7 o'clock. We are live across the United Kingdom. It's Talk, of course, the home of common sense, the home of the alarm clock. Brit, you're waking up if you're on the way to work, sitting in a queue, trying to chivvy the kids. Maybe you're on the way back from a night shift. Thank you for tuning in. This is the station where you can have your say on the day's news. As ever, 0344 499 1000. You can ring, you can send one of those voice notes, you can text us 87222. Let's say good morning to Mike.
Hi, Jessa. This is Mike in South Wales. Does Starmer, the people harmer, not realise that the bills are going to go down in April and May and June and July? Because simply, it gets warmer, so people will turn the heating off.
That's Mike, by the way, highlighting energy bills, because yesterday, yet again, our Prime Minister was caught with his trousers down. He stood up in the Commons and made a big thing. 7 o'clock this morning. Have a listen, have a watch.
The news this morning, Mr. Speaker, 7 a.m, energy bills coming down by £117 for millions of families and young people struggling. That's guaranteed money off bills in April, driven by the action that this Labour government has taken. We promised to cut the cost of living. We are cutting the cost of living.
I mean, how excited did he sound? 3 hours later, I'm not very good on technology, but Twitter is now called X, and there's a thing called a community note, which gets sent by the authorities and the people that run it if you're talking BS. They said, sorry, you're wrong. In fact, energy bills are £73 higher than when you took office, so stop telling poor Keir Starmer. It's unbelievable. Yesterday as well, I don't know if you saw this, fantastic. We're all running around in the afternoon. Suddenly it came out that they're doing a U-turn on Chagos, U-turn number 16 on the way. You know that Chagos? Why would you U-turn on something that says, I know we own it, but we're going to give it away, and we're going to give £35 billion in effect to do the deal, and we're going to give it to Mauritius, who are friends with China. And what we're really pleased is the Mauritian people, they won't have to pay any income tax for the next few years, but we'll just double your tax so that you pay for it. Now, one minister said it was a pause, then number 10 said not, but essentially we're now paused on the Chagos deals. Hurrah! But in a shocking development this morning, and this has come from nowhere, rumours started abounding last night, that Labour want to go further and are now planning to hand over the Gibraltar Rock and the Gibraltar territory to Spain. Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel claimed a treaty draft has been agreed, but ministers are too scared to bring it to Parliament. Which begs the question, Gibraltar, Chagos Islands, what's next? Many people are saying the Isle of Wight, the Isle of Man, the Isle of Sheppey. Why not just give away the whole bloody island? We are an island. Talking of which, the other big news story is, as predicted, with the nice weather, warmer than Dallas yesterday, thank you, G-Spot, 545 new illegal migrants, not children, not women, men, young men, arrived yesterday on 10 boats. It took them 29 minutes and 35 seconds to be ushered through Border Force, and they are now in the United Kingdom, in a hotel, with all the privileges that come with that. France is being given millions every year, Bass, and they've worked out that the 66,000 that have come, it's costing 8,000 for each of the ones they've stopped. That's how much of an appalling job they're doing. The Home Office said in response to us this morning, we are pressing on with joint operations with the French, which has helped block 40,000 crossing attempts under this government. But let's forget the 66,000 that have got in. Let's get straight to it. Is he in front of his mother's curtains? A very good morning to James Price, former... Is this the new abode, JP?
I've been working so hard to get a background that is worthy of your programme and to leave poor Mummy Price's curtains alone. I hope that some of this looks vaguely sensible behind me.
Is this your new study?
I'm afraid it is. This is where I get locked in every day by Mrs. Price the Younger until I've done all my work and earned my crust and can come out again.
And then you can get in the garden and cut the grass and empty the bins. Do you know what happens when anybody sits in an office like that? I look through the glass and all of them are looking for something dodgy in the background that they can then say, ask him about that book or that. Anyway, not with you. You're a top man. Mate, can we get straight to it? You turned number 16 on the cards. The Chagos Islands. Extraordinary yesterday. Useless deal. And now Gibraltar. What do you know?
It's absolutely astonishing, isn't it? I've had such a blissful time moving house and lugging boxes around, and I come back to looking at the news again, and it's just the same old horrors from the Labour Party. Why did they keep pushing this Chagos deal this far, knowing it was so awful and so reprehensible? Such a vote loser, has destroyed or damaged our reputation with the United States of America, has led every other country to line up to try and take either bits of territory or money, or bits of territory and money off us. And yet they kept persisting with this. As you say, beyond the 15 other things that they did screeching Dukes of Hazzard car chase style U-turns on. And now they come to this finally, having expended all of the political capital, and they now go, yeah, okay, actually, it turns out we can't quite yet give away all this territory along with many tens of billions of pounds we don't have. It is absolutely extraordinary. It's already done huge amounts of damage to the United Kingdom, to our finances, to our standing in the world, and now to this point, exactly as I say, that other countries will try and come along and take other things off us.
They will.
Gibraltar is one of those longer running sores, and it just goes to the same, I think, mindset of everybody in that Labour Party, that Britain is bad. They hate the country that they run in many different ways. They wish it would be very different. They wish its history wouldn't be so proud, that our ancestors hadn't been so buccaneering at going and exploring new parts of the world and spreading common law and democracy and civilization to every continent and every country going around the world. They hate all of that. They clearly hate the Chagosians, by the way, you can see on the screen, but they definitely hate that there is this little patch called Gibraltar that they want to get rid of and give away to the Spanish, who make all kinds, by the way, of anti-imperialist claims, which make anybody who's ever been to, I don't know, Mexico or any of South America laugh when you hear them speaking Spanish there, or the fact that the Spanish themselves have their own two versions of Gibraltar on the North African coast that they refuse to give back to any African countries. So they know that they're taking the mick with this stuff, and we're either so thick or so gullible or so masochistic that we're willing to countenance giving away Gibraltar to Spain eventually.
Mate, and you know, on the very basis of a U-turn, it's bad enough, but when you listen to the ideology, when you understand the ideology, which is, as you quite rightly say, just sort of to apologise for everything we were and everything we are, and it just does my head in that people hate this country, that run this country. I'm with you. I'm not, you know, we didn't get everything right, but if you're going to systematically try and strip back everything this country is, everything this country stands for, I think it's just so dangerous, mate. I mean, I suspect Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel says that a draft treaty has been agreed about Gibraltar, but ministers won't bring it to the chamber because they know it'll be so unpopular. Under the deal, allegedly, JP, Gibraltar will remain British, but must follow EU rules under its new Brexit deal, the full legal text of the agreement has revealed. I mean, that goes against what the British people want, doesn't it?
Well, no, who cares what the British people want, say the Labour Party, right? They will tell them what they think is good for them. Oh, actually, no, it's not good for them anymore. It's good for the international community, maybe for the global south. Those poor benighted Spaniards who are busy at the moment giving, I think, a pathway to citizenship for 500,000 illegal people who broke into Spain from third world countries, which, by the way, of course, if we were still in the European Union proper, then those 500,000 people from third world countries that Spain has just given a path to citizenship to would be eligible to move to Britain and start claiming benefits and houses and all the rest of it. So let's just be thankful at least that we've mostly got ourselves out of the grip of the European Union.
Now, this morning, dealing with the Chagos thing, right, is one thing. Dealing with Gibraltar's another. And then Poppy Coburn, our good friend from the Daily Telegraph, has delivered a line that has left me... I don't know what to say anymore, JP, which is why I wanted to get my dear, dear friend on. As predicted, due to the weather, it was warmer than Dallas yesterday here. 545 migrants arrived. That makes 66,000. He hasn't managed to smash the gangs. The boats are coming, obviously. Nice weather. Why don't you get more border force? There was a story yesterday, JP, that you could... There they are. Yeah, 29 minutes and 40 seconds after they get off the boat, they've cleared border force and are in this country on their way to a hotel. Takes 3 times that to get in from Alicante, but that's another story. The government oblivious to this story again and again, millions to the French who aren't doing their job. And then Poppy told us that because we're an island, under human rights law, it would be easier if we were landlocked, because if we were landlocked, we could build a fence or a wall. Because we're surrounded by water, the people who come in illegally, we have an absolute human rights right or important thing to treat them and make sure they don't drown, so we have to taxi them here. Why not taxi them back to France, says Jeriza? Why not get a Royal Navy to pick them up and take them back to where they came from? No, we have to transport them here in case they drown. That's what we're dealing with. That's the truth. I know.
So Napoleon and William the Conqueror and the Spanish Armada and Hitler all should have just invented international law if they'd have wanted to invade Britain.
Absolutely.
It would have been much easier for them.
You're absolutely right. Anybody who's thinking invading Britain now, just go ahead, because you could drown on the way over, and human rights law says we're going to have to pick you up and taxi you here to make sure you're right. So just send your army. We'll transport. It's just... I can't even say the word I want to say.
The real problem of this here is the disjunct between politics and the way that politics works and the way that law works, certainly when applied to international law. You have these guys who say, well, because it's written here in the International Tribunal or the Law of the Sea or whatever else it may be, that just has to be done and it has to trump the national interest, which isn't written down in quite such a prescriptive way in either domestic or international statute, because obviously things change and Britain has, eternal interests. But if you were to write a law that says you must only do good things for Britain, it wouldn't work very well. It would be overinterpreted, etc. And this is the danger, that you now have so much of this so-called international law around the place, and it makes it very difficult, especially in a system where we have, where you have a large number of civil servants and lawyers and quangos and not very many political appointments, and you and I have talked about this all the time, that it's impossible to get this done. I don't know if you or any of your listeners or viewers, of whom, by the way, there are many, many more than when you started taking over, so well done again for that.
Thank you, my friend.
I don't know how many of them have seen the movie No Country for Old Men that won the Oscar a few years ago, Coen Brothers movie. It's got Javier Bardem in that horrible haircut/wig, and he's a terrifying murderer, and he captures someone and he says, you've got all these rules, but if your rules brought you here to me, what use were your rules? I think that's where we're at now.
Mate, I hate it, actually, because I don't want to sit here every day and bang my head against a brick wall and wonder. I'll give you another example. Yesterday, Chagos, then Gibraltar, then the boats. Yesterday morning, full of the joys of spring as much as he can do, up jumps Starmer and goes, great news, Mr Speaker. At 7 o'clock this morning, we announced that energy bills have gone down by £117. He didn't sound like that. And everybody went, whoa, this is fantastic. And 2 hours later, X, because they've got this community note thing, which means don't lie because we'll out you, put... You're lying, yet again. In fact, energy bills are £73 more expensive than when you came to power. In July 24, they were 1,568 a year, April 2026, there'll be 1,641. So this merchant of doom, this liar, will stand and think we are going to swallow BS, because that's what it is. That's how bad it's got. And that is how bad his operation is, because he, thinks he can pull the wool over people's eyes? Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I do think he is a filthy liar and totally shameless. But on this one, is he just so thick because he doesn't understand any of this stuff and no one around him understands any of this stuff?
I'll give you an example that is perfect for this, right? People will laugh. I started out as a salesman and I was selling radio advertising space years ago in Swindon. And I went to see this client and I remember him saying to me, I've got a car rental business and it's great during the week, but at the weekend I can't shift any cars. And I said, show me your book, right? And it was whatever it was at the weekend, right? So I said, if it's £50 a day, make it 80. Right, and then we ran an advert saying half price weekend car hire, right? It was half price from what it was made to look almost just a little bit less than the 50 that it originally was. It was 45. That's marketing. My point is, this guy doesn't have the intelligence to work out that the British electorate, the silent majority, have sussed out the fact that he lies the whole time. Whether it's Chagos, whether it's farmers, waspy, and we've done the list, JP, until I am bored to death of it. And still he is peddling BS. And people just... they've switched off. Starmer is where the Tory party were at the end of 14 years. Nobody, I believe, is listening to this man at all.
No, I think that's exactly right. By the way, including his own backbenchers and I think some of his cabinets. The fact that he survived that sort of almost very weak, limp-wristed coup the other week, he still had to come out and say, oh, I agree with all the people in my cabinet who've said that everything is going really badly. He's so weak. And when you look at it from an international perspective, it's so embarrassing. Listen to any American podcast talk about what's going on here in the UK. Listen to the way the Europeans and the Middle Easterners and all the rest of it talk about us. It's so embarrassing. And it's embarrassing that, as you say, he can't even work out that we're in a different age now where you can't get away with lying. You also can't get away with the immutable laws of supply and demand. As a former salesman, you would understand these rules implicitly. Most of the people listening today understand the rules of supply and demand. They understand these things. But to Starmer and that total Wally Ed Miliband, I used to have behind me here a mug of Wallace from Wallace and Gromit until Mrs. Price told me I might lose some gravitas. But then you put Ed Miliband back on the screen, so it's fine. These guys don't understand how anything in the real world works. They think they can just say, oh, yeah, I'm making bills cheaper without what? Oh, have you dug more coal or found more oil or put more solar panels down or more nuclear energy? No. Right, well, how have you managed to get the bills down then?
I imagine that day in my life.
I dream going to mess up the market later.
Completely agree. I dream of that day where I'm sat, honestly, opposite Ed Miliband, and I literally say to him, right, you've got this crazy notion that you know, this is so important, despite the fact that we only release 1% of carbon monoxide and all of those things, and it's going to cost billions. But let me just ask you this. Your wind farms do not create enough, and you end up importing electricity, which is why people's energy bills are going up. And then, of course, if it blows too much, we can't store it, and it costs more to turn those things off. Do you not, forget ideology a minute, Mr. Miliband, right? Do you not understand that fiscally that is utterly, utterly disastrous and stupid and pointless and costs billions that this country doesn't have? What would he say? No, it's about the environment. Right, so we're happy
he would say that you were an evil right-wing fascist, obviously, right? That's the only readout of these people. Okay. It is true that in order to upgrade to kind of new, exciting technologies, it does have a cost to it.
Sure.
Which is why it's so mad that we're cancelling North Sea oil, that we're not allowing, people might not agree with me on this, that we're not allowing fracking, which has made American energy bills absolutely tiny compared to us. They're now less than half. America is now...
Why don't you just take what you've got under your own ground and pay off your debts? It's money, isn't it?
Exactly, right? And we're not doing this for the environment because it's now just other countries who are creating those carbon emissions, and that we get to feel good about it whilst Granny freezes to death over the winter, which is what happens here in the United Kingdom, which is totally bonkers. What I'm suggesting is that in the short term, you get fracking going again, you get all these other kind of carbon emissions, because frankly, we're too poor not to do this anymore. And you use some of the surplus of that as more sensible energy policy, both to get nuclear energy going, which is a wonderful thing, and the French use it, and their bills are 2/3 cheaper than ours are because they've got more nuclear plants than most others. By the way, we until the 60s had more nuclear power plants than the rest of the world put together. And then we messed up. I suspect it was probably another socialist government that messed that up.
Greenpeace.
So you get those something, and then you can get the new technologies that will make the Earth happy and healthy and all the rest of it. But you can't afford to buy any of that stuff if you're so damn poor that Granny is freezing in her bed at night.
Completely agree. I just want to finish this morning. I love the whole study look. I always like to finish with you, my friend, in a slightly light-hearted way. But have you had any breakfast?
Not yet.
Okay,
oh, no.
Which is probably good. So I'm going to show you a photograph. I'd like your response to this photograph. This is from the Epstein files. If you could put up the photograph. This is Professor Stephen Hawking. This is genuinely true. If you're just tuning in, on Epstein's island, lying on a sunbed. With a cocktail being held to his mouth by two bikini-clad women who look about 20. In response to this being released yesterday, two things happened. One, his family said these two young things were carers, and I've also put in an application to enter the old person's home as quickly as possible. Stephen Hawkins was up to his neck. I mean, the whole thing is beyond me. Have you ever seen carers like that?
No, I've never seen carers who have black boxes for faces. Very peculiar.
Well,
I've always said that you'd have seen that Oscar-winning movie, The Theory of Everything. I'm not sure what I think about this gritty sequel to the movie.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Hawking goes on the Lita Express to Epstein's Island, and they can't be carers, can they? And if they are carers, what are they doing with cocktail skimpy bikinis laying all over him? I mean, honestly, the whole thing. The whole thing.
It's not often I'm left speechless, is it? Goodness me.
Yeah.
But I'll be joining you there in that old person's home if this is what it comes to.
Oh, God, you'll be in trouble with Mrs. P now. Granny will be on the phone. Listen, mate, it's always a pleasure. We love having you on. Looking forward to lunch next week. The legend that is James
Morning,
Price.
Jez.
Good man, thank you. Former government advisor, 7:22, we're live across the UK. You're waking up to some extraordinary news. Chagos, Gibraltar, more to be given away by this government, although Chagos is paused because the Donald is not happy. The migrants continue to come. The weather is great. Warmer than Dallas yesterday. And the Prime Minister's lied about energy, lied about almost everything. And whatever you want to talk about, just seriously get in contact. We'd love to hear from you. Morning, Jay.
Morning, Jezza. Great show as always. The speech the other night by the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, when he turned round and said, you know, stand up if you believe that American people should come first before illegal aliens, as they say, and everyone stood up bar the Democrats. And then all the insults and slagging off and slandering came from the Democrats. Why would you, you know, if you've got a house full of children, a family, why would you invite someone in you don't know and feed them before your own family and kids, and then run out of food and look at your kids and say, oh, we're gonna have to go starving? You know, it doesn't make sense. It's exactly what the British are doing to, you know, the illegals coming in with the homelessness. We've got Brits on the street. I would not have a problem with my tax money cleaning up homelessness.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense? Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. You know, I do believe that economies can be fixed and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:27. We're live across the United Kingdom. A very good morning to you. It's Tuesday. No, it's not. It's Thursday. Seems like Tuesday. It's Thursday, the 26th of February. We've got so much to talk about. I'm very grateful for everybody that gets in touch. You can send us a voice note, 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Jez, whilst in the shower this morning, I rewrote the lyrics to Barry Manilow's Oh Mandy, says Joe from Shrewsbury. Go.
You're teetering on the edge of jail. They'll have to trawl through your email to find out what you did to betray your country. I hope you're breaking it. Think you're above it all, don't we all, Mandy? Starmer loves you and won't send you to jail. He'll give you one more chance, oh Mandy. He'll say your human rights will prevail. Even in those white pants, oh Mandy.
I mean, honestly, can I just say, apart from the lyrics being brilliant, how good's his voice? Can you imagine being that good and singing in the shower? I don't know whether my next guest sings in the shower. He's a very important man. We say no, he's shaking his head. Head of comms for Friends of the British Overseas Territories, Robert Midgley. A very good morning.
Good morning. I do absolutely not sing in the shower.
Do you not?
I can't sing, Jeremy.
Neither can I.
I just can't sing.
Do you know why I became a DJ?
Why?
Because I can't dance. I cannot dance. My feet do not agree with my head at all. I'm always that sad old git that sits at the side and says, no, you go. I'll just sit here and have a sausage roll or something. Robert, massive welcome. Where do we start? Let's. I mean, I was working yesterday afternoon, and suddenly Hamish Faulkner, one of the Home Office ministers, stood up and said, Foreign Office ministers, after Donald Trump has voiced his displeasure about the Chagos Islands deal, we're pausing. Number 10 went, no, we're not. And then sometime later, number 10 said, well, we are. We're having discussions because no time frame was put on it. This deal, the Chagos Island deal, to anybody with a brain cell, makes no sense financially, no sense morally, and it proves, does it not, that Starmer can't do anything without anybody else getting involved, in this case, Donald Trump.
No, that's absolutely correct, and I watched that whole statement yesterday, and he blustered his way through it. I mean, he's not the Minister for the Overseas Territory, so I didn't really know much of the details. But what was interesting yesterday was MPs accused government 3 times of misleading them. They confirmed that the bill has been paused until America realigns themselves. So originally the bill was meant to be completed at the end of January, and they wanted the handover to be on the 1st of February in time for tax cuts in Mauritius. But obviously that's not happened. So
tax cuts are the money that we're giving them to make sure that the Mauritian people are okay, but ours are struggling.
It's meant to be 80% of the population will be lifted out of tax in Mauritius once this deal is done.
Can we just stop there a second? Just say that to the British people.
Yeah.
So warped is our Prime Minister under this ideological human rights nonsense. He wants the Mauritian people to be tax-free, 80% of them, but our tax is being increased the whole time, Robert. That's the reality, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to Mauritius what they do with the money, but from our side, we're meant to be paying to rent back our own territory, and that will be lifting 80% of Mauritians out of income tax. So that's something for you to think about as well. But also yesterday, I don't know if you've been following all the legal basis that we've been uncovering the past few weeks, but we uncovered that there's absolutely no legal basis to this deal, and it was sort of confirmed yesterday because they kept probing the minister about the intricate UNCLOS part of the deal, which is the United Nations Convention of Laws of the Sea. And of course, we have a military exemption to that. So they probed him so many times, and he couldn't answer any of the questions. And also, a small little fact that came out as well was that they also said negotiations started under a Labour government in 2009. So I did actually look into this, and bilateral talks did happen about Chagos Islands in 2009. So there is evidence out there that can prove it. But yeah, it's turned into a really sticky situation. And also, we have UQs in Lords today. And then on Monday, Sir Edward Lee has put in a notice to the Speaker that they want to have that urgent debate about the misleading of Parliament. So this whole thing is opening up. About 4 months ago, you know, I sat on the Winston Marshall show and said, oh, we don't really have many gaps where we can move for this deal to die now. But actually, now so many avenues have now opened up and the cracks are really showing. And
of course.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe that the government's misled Parliament and the Chagos deal?
So on the 22nd of May 2025, John Healey, the Secretary of State for Defence, did say that the whole reason for giving away these islands is based on the fact a ruling could come from an international court that would force our hand. He said that that would be UNCLOS, which I just mentioned, or ITLOS, which is the International Tribunal of the Sea. And then we have been doing a series of ministerial questions from MPs that sort of unravelled all of this. It said, well, how are we signed up to the exemptions within ITLOS and UNCLOS? This was about less than 2 weeks ago now. And the minister replied, said, yes, we are. So we said, well, how have we got so far to realise that a binding ruling cannot come from anywhere?
It's just, mate,
so the whole
to your
basis
average
has been taken away now.
To your average person, right, it's ludicrous. For example, Trump, who seemed to initially support it, has now vetoed the deal. It's not going to... Let's just cut to the chase. Yes or no? It's not going to go ahead without his approval, is it?
No, it will not. But do you know why he pulled out about a week or so ago? It's because there's a clause in the deal that says any time that there's an operation taking place, you have to notify Mauritius. Mauritius is actually compromised by China. All their phones are hacked and everything like this.
Wow.
But anyway, but someone in the government was either really incompetent or he should be working for us. And they actually...
incompetent, I think, let's be perfectly honest. Yeah?
They notified Mauritius over a potential strike on Iran. So all the alarm bells went off in the US saying, well, hold on a minute, what is this? And the UK said, oh no, we're just doing this on friendly terms with Mauritius just to let them know. So
it's so naive. It's really, really, to me, pinpoints the naivety of this government and this Prime Minister who wants to cosy up to this human rights fiasco. The point you just made, I'm going to repeat all morning. Under the deal, we have to let them know if something's going to happen operationally. America's our ally. America is looking at what's happening in Iran. Mauritius is close to China. That sums up Starmer to me in an absolute heartbeat. Can I take it beyond that? Today we heard rumours that this crackpot administration are now considering giving the same. They're going to do the same with, I think, Gibraltar. There was fury. Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel has claimed overnight that a treaty draft has been agreed, but Labour ministers at the moment not bringing it to Parliament. It would remain British, but would follow EU rules.
Yeah, well, wait for this, Jeremy. So the EU are publishing the treaty this morning, even though the UK hasn't actually seen it yet, like, as in publicly. So the EU are all over, they're releasing it before we're even seeing it in Parliament. So I don't know the exact details, but I've seen little bits of it, and it's where Border Patrol would move from the border of Gibraltar to the airport, which means you would have UK and Spanish border at the airport, and also you would have Spanish border guards at any ports as well. So this is the first time in, history, you've got Spanish nationals working for Spain on the borders of Gibraltar, on the inside of Gibraltar.
I mean, you're the head of comms for Friends of the British Overseas Territories. This is simply yet, if it's true, another example of this Prime Minister giving away our sovereign territory, isn't it?
So when you enter Gibraltar, it'll be counted towards your Schengen days, days that when you enter the EU, for example. So you have entered the EU as soon as you enter the Gibraltar border. So that's one big issue. Another issue is that their taxes all going up there. And another issue is crime. So there's a lot of crime across the border in Spain, a lot of gang warfare, whatever. But Gibraltarians see the border as a safety net.
Is anybody asking the Gibraltarians what they want?
Yeah, so they're concerned about the crime. They obviously don't want to be stuck in all those queues every day. So about 10,000 people cross the border every day to go to work. So this is very important for people who work and live across the border. Lots of Gibraltarians live across the border, so they want to get in. So it's very important for them that there's no queues, because there's been so much drama over the past few decades of Spanish guards just closing the border when they feel like it, causing queues, causing quite a lot of misery. So on some side, this is a good thing. But there's other intricacies within this where little patches of land have been ceded over, the border guards are coming into Gibraltar. Yeah, there's a few downsides and a few upsides.
But overall, it's symptomatic of a human rights-obsessed Prime Minister who wants to presumably either keep his mates in jobs or apologise for any sort of past of this country and carve up things that will cost us money when we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis.
No, absolutely.
I'm not trying to be cynical.
And there's a security concern in this as well, because you've got RAF Gibraltar. Gibraltar's airport is owned by the RAF. And a part of that was Spain wanted full access to that airport. They wanted the airport to be Spanish. So in the treaty, we're yet to see it, what's actually happening with the airport. But I heard that that was one of the red lines that is the reason why it kept stalling.
Amazing to have you here, and I mean that, Robert. Two very quick questions. Yes or no? Will the Chagos Islands deal go ahead, yes or no?
Really difficult to say right now. It's a matter of time. You've got parliamentary prorogation coming up before the King's speech in just after the local elections. So it's a race against time at the moment to keep this delay going until it can die naturally.
Will Gibraltar happen, yes or no?
I think very likely it will happen, just because they have a chief minister.
And any truth in the news that next will the Isle of Wight, followed by the Isle of Man, followed by the Isle of Sheppey?
Well, they're crown dependencies, so it's
won't stop him giving them away, will it? Robert Midgley, thank you. I really appreciate it. Here comes Friends of the British Overseas Territory. 22 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 21 minutes to 8 o'clock. Yes, Julia Hartley-Brewer from 10, Ian Collins from 1, and Kev O'Sullivan on Drive. It is Talk, the home of common sense. Sean, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. Do you know what? I'm fed up of hearing this Labour government about colonisation and all this type of guff. You know what, mate? I reckon the Falklands will be next. It's a little island miles away with a Union Jack on, which the Labour Party do not like. And let me just put it straight. Right, if we didn't colonise half of these countries, mate, we left them in a far better state than there was before we got there. You know? So a bit of gratitude won't go amiss. Great show, mate.
My opinion would be that we did make mistakes. We did some very good stuff. But I don't want a government that's apologist. I want a government that deals with the issues and the problems that are happening in this country right now. Next, a man who is in the middle of a worldwide tour. He's left the normality of this studio and this station to become an icon. Peter Blexley, former Met Police... Well, don't look very icon there. He's sat in a car. Where are you, dear? Where are you?
I'm in Bath this morning. I'm heading to Sold Out Newbury tonight and Bournemouth on Friday.
Mate, it's full on for you, isn't it? My parents lived in Bath, very classy there. Are you going for a bath, or are you just... What are you going to do for the day?
I performed in Bath last night in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. It was a beautiful place. We might stop at a pub for a nice bit of lunch today.
You haven't told the truth, have you? The wife's driving. You've got it well licked, you have, Blexley, haven't you? Well licked.
I have indeed, thank you very much.
And he's on his best behaviour because the wife sat next to him. Peter, I wanted to get very quickly your response to this astonishing story yesterday. We saw Mandelson a couple of days ago, led from his house at 4:30 in the afternoon, looking very ashen-faced and led away by the Metropolitan Police. He was then released, I think, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and did usual Mandelson stuff by starting tweeting out, "This is a disgrace. I'd agreed to come in and talk." Apparently, the Met Police were tipped off, and it transpired yesterday, tipped off by the Commons Speaker Lindsay Hoyle, who's now up in arms that the Met leaked that it was him. Another damning indictment of the Met Police, Peter Blexley.
Utter stupidity on behalf of the Metropolitan Police. Let's use some language here that hopefully we can all understand. Lindsay Hoyle, Speaker of the House of Commons, very, very senior figure, was an informant for the police. He received some information that Mandelson might be a flight risk, so he went to the police and he told them. Now, that kind of information and the source of that information should be treasured, looked after, kept confidential. You don't go blabbing it to the public, to the media, disclosing your sources. It's absolutely astonishing. How can anybody now have information about a crime and think, yeah, I'll go and tell the Met Police? Because if this is anything to go by, they're going to expose your identity.
Deliberate or a mistake? I don't know what's worse.
Well, either way, it's utterly appalling. The Met have said it was a mistake. But these kind of things shouldn't happen. When people come to you in confidence and whisper in your ear, you look after those sources. I nearly went to prison because of looking after a source who I refused to identify in court. You look after your sources, you do not declare their identity, you treat them as treasure, because that's what they are.
Can we look at the other side of the coin? It was pretty duff information, as it turned out, wasn't it? Because the British Virgin Islands are British territory and there'd be an extradition treaty, for Christ's sake. Did nobody at the Met Police go, oh, that's a fact, let's not make such a spectacle of ourselves?
That's for the police to assess information. Of course, when you receive it, you assess it, you grade it, and you act accordingly. I'm sure we have an extradition treaty with the British Virgin Islands, but perhaps it just gives you a window into the soul and the intelligence and the level of detectives that are currently being recruited and working within the Met.
And here's another thing, you might not know the answer to this. I don't see how the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, has any pull over Peter Mandelson, because he's a Lord and he's Lindsay Hoyle's the Speaker of the House of Commons for MPs.
Lindsay Hoyle did the public-spirited thing.
OK.
He received some information and he passed it to the police.
Fair enough. The other story I wanted to pick up on before you head off to yet another sold-out night. This is obvious. The number of offenders in jail will fall under Labour's soft justice reform of jury trials. One of the biggest and most disastrous things I think ever suggested by this bloody government. Let's get rid of jury trials, the ancient way of you being judged by your peers. Number of offenders in jail will fall. That's what it's all about for Lammy, isn't it?
Of course it is. Jury trial, as laid down by the Magna Carta, is now being eroded by this government, and it's absolutely appalling. But let me tell you, excuse me, there's a new nation order on its way. The political elites, the royalty elites, so many of these people have had their day. The public are saying enough is enough. They're going to get totally moved aside, I hope, as we get a new government that will put the people first, the nation first, and all these elites had their day. Goodbye. It's over for you.
It's interesting, actually, because you're travelling around at the moment doing this tour on a serious note, and I have said that you just get the feeling, even if you sat in this studio, that me and the team, I use the phrase all the time, the silent majority are moving. I'm not talking about civil unrest. I just get the feeling that the British public are no longer going to accept fudged examples and answers. They are going to demand transparency, as you said it, whether it's our political elite, whether it's the royal family, whether it's social situations, whether it's, you know, bodies that, you know, like you think about the grooming scare. I just don't think it's going to go away. And it, to me, it's incredibly powerful. I think the people who have, the Mandelsons of this world, the Epsteins of this world, the prime ministers who have got away with it for years, the royals, I think, I don't mean to over-egg it, but I think the day of reckoning's coming, Pete.
Indeed. The leaders of NHS trusts, the leaders of local councils who fail to deliver for people and waste their money. All of this is very much under the spotlight. But what we need is a powerful media to keep doing investigative journalism and keep broadcasting the truth, but also look at the citizen journalism that's out there now, whether it be auditors, and I know they're not always popular, whether it be bloggers, people who write a Substack, all these people with substantial followings, their voices are being heard. There is a new nation order on its way, and I hope to live long enough to see it, embrace it, and enjoy the benefits of it.
Now, I don't know whether Mrs. Blex is sitting next to you, is she?
No, she's currently in bed.
Brilliant. So you'll be able to answer this. Have you seen the Stephen Hawking picture? Because you just talked about old enough to survive. Have you seen this, Pete?
No, I haven't.
Right, please put it on the screen. This is from the Epstein files, Pete. That's Stephen Hawking lying on a sunbed, surrounded by what can only be described as two very scantily clad women in bikinis holding a cocktail for him. His family overnight, when this published, said that those two are his carers. I don't know about you. Look, the glasses are on with Blexy. I don't know about you, Blexy, but I can't wait to enter the old people's home. Can you?
I can wait for that day quite happily, but I tell you what I would like. I'd like a nice fruity cocktail.
You are. Do you know what? You can tell your wife's with you. Peter Blexley, legend. Thank you very much, Steve. Good luck with the tour tonight in Newbury. Details online. You can go and see the great man. 12 minutes to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom next. I'm delighted to welcome a woman who, well, she moves the dial because she says it like it is. Angela Levin, royal biographer. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Nice to see you again. Fine, thank you.
Well, you see, you wind everybody up, Angela. You say it like it is. You don't care, do you?
I do care. That's why I say it as it is.
Do you know what? That's the truth. More royal sort of news overnight. Many people say, God, is this ever going to go away? Some more emails from Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell overnight, intimating very cleverly, some would say, that Epstein blamed Charles for Andrew losing his UK trade envoy job, the job that he's now under investigation. Quick question for you. Did the King get him fired, Angela?
Get what? No, he managed to get him away. He didn't want him to have the job. He thought he wouldn't be worth doing it. International trade and investment. He wouldn't have done it properly, and he didn't want it. But Tony Blair, who was Prime Minister then, absolutely wouldn't take that. And Mandelson absolutely wanted it as well. So he lost it. So I imagine after all that time, they'd seen what had happened and obviously recognised that it wasn't what they wanted. So he just stopped it. I'm very pleased he did.
Well, of course, the job that he is accused now of taking, you know, bungs and setting up meetings and, you know, giving out confidential information to make his mate's life, predominantly Epstein, but other people as well, a lot better. And people are talking about an abuse of power. I know that Charles, when it first came out, said no, but you don't think he put any pressure? He would just have been relieved that Andrew was out of it. During that time, with those warnings, did he know anything, Charles, do you think?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I think he couldn't do it. I mean, he has to do what the Prime Ministers say. He's not got the chance to say that I definitely want to do that. But there must have been something after those 10 years that he said, look, that's enough, and they let it happen.
Many people in this country, Angela, we talked about this already this week, are beginning to question the monarchy like never before. Do you understand that?
I do, yes. I think every now and then we all get very anxious and it affects everything. And this is another one. And it's very dangerous what's happened, and you don't believe. You don't know who to believe. You don't know if they're good, if they're bad, if they're doing things that are terrible. When we don't know, you don't know them anymore.
And
So
that's
you
and
have
that's the
to-
point. People are questioning the monarchy like never before. Yesterday, I had Di Davis on, the ex-royal bodyguard, and he said he believes that this will carry on, and it might well be that the King and William might have to be questioned by the police. Angela Levin.
I don't think they will ask that. They won't. The king doesn't have to do that. Absolutely not. So that I'm not worried about that. He doesn't have to, and he won't go to any.
No. You say he doesn't have to, but he said he would cooperate fully. My question, and we both know that Charles cares deeply about the monarchy, right? If the way to turn public opinion or get people on side is himself to tell the police what he knew, because, and I'm not having a go, but if he had reservations about Andrew and said, he'll just sleep with everybody and take advantage financially before he became a trade envoy, then it would be perfectly acceptable to say, what else did you know? What led you to that opinion? He gave his opinion. People didn't listen to him. I get that. But I do actually think that certain members of the royal family Fergie definitely, might end up being questioned. And the big thing is what I just said to you. He said he'll cooperate, the king.
Yeah, I think there's cooperation and there's cooperation, isn't it? If it's done quietly and talking, and I think that will work. I mean, we're not going to know that he's been taken like Andrew was, put in a car and driven away somewhere. It'll be very quiet and delicate, and I think that will be fine. But
if he was taken, if they had a meeting and they had a delicate conversation, here's a question for you. Do you think that the king would refuse to answer any questions about Andrew?
I think you would find a way of giving an answer, like you and I both do, if we're not too keen on answering it. You can just, move gently to the left or the right. And I think he will be wanting to get as much as he can and get it over. And
do you think he regrets, and I'm not, I'm a fan of the monarchy, but do you think he regrets not coming forward, not swallowing the lies, not being more transparent sooner? We know we can't say that of his mother. She's no longer here. But do you think he now perhaps thinks, geez, I wish something had happened sooner?
Well, we all do that, don't we? I mean, it's this huge sort of terrible amount of things, millions and millions of things that are coming over, and you don't know that what's in there. And I think that he has done his best. I think he was nervous because Andrew's not very nice to him and he's not very nice to Andrew.
Do you think he'll ever speak to Andrew again?
Do I think he will ever speak to him? Well, I don't know. But I doubt he will ever have a nice conversation. He might just say something very simple, but I don't think he wants to go anywhere near. That's why he moved him. He doesn't want to go anywhere near him. He doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want him to come up to him if there's, whatever's going on with the royal family and have a laugh or smile. He doesn't want to have anything to do with him.
Do you think the ex-Prince Andrew would ever set foot in Buckingham Palace or any of the major royal residences ever again?
No, I'm sure not.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you, we've only got a couple of minutes, is there's obviously a couple of people, one spectacularly, I imagine, called Meghan Markle, who have been rubbing her hands in glee. I'd love your response to the fact that she and the ginger one have suddenly landed in Jordan on an unofficial 2-day humanitarian visit, meeting teenage victims of the wars and shaking hands. She's loving this, isn't she?
Yes, and I think it's disgusting. I want to get extremely annoyed. These crazy things that mean nothing, and she does it to try and have photographs. It's just to have photographs. But I was very surprised and upset this morning when I hear there's a lot of Hamas in those people that she saw yesterday and the day before. They're supporting staff. And so we've got terrorists that they go around shaking hands and saying, hello, how are you? It's also dangerous because Iran is threatening to war and they're gone to Jordan. They won't come to London. They won't come to the UK, but they won't go to Jordan where at any moment there can be a war.
You're saying that Meghan Markle's hanging out with Hamas terrorists?
I'm not saying she's hanging out with them, but some of the people who are running these events in Jordan are Hamas. And they were had things with their name, their numbers on it, and their name, and yeah.
Unbelievable. She'll do anything, as you said, for a photograph. And I suspect, I don't know about you, that she's pretty delighted with all of this, the story about the ex-Prince Andrew that's going on. Just one thing, haven't got long. He looks as miserable as sin, the ginger one still, trailing behind her with a face as long as anything.
Unhappy. And he'll be very unhappy that she says she won a football goal. So he was very upset about that. He couldn't even manage that because she took that away from him so she could show how he fought. I know.
Oh, God, listen,
That's a joke, really.
It goes on. I've said it years ago to my old man, he will be back in this country with his ginger tail between his legs, and she'll be in California trying to get back into Deal or No Deal. Angela Levin, we love having you on, my darling. Thank you so much indeed. We'll speak to you very, very soon. News at 8 is on the way. So much still to come on Talk Breakfast. Sarah Vine, author and columnist for the Daily Mail, legend, next on Talk Breakfast.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense. Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. You know, I do believe that economies can be fixed and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Labour MPs, they say, listen, Keir, your position is untenable. This is all about appointing that rat, Peter Mandelson.
We've now had another resignation from number 10. The plot is sickening, the noose is tightening.
His failings are internal. He's useless, incompetent, has no political judgment.
This is all part of Starmer's reset, getting rid of his inner circle. So Chris Wormold, we think fairly reluctantly, has stepped down.
What an absolutely crazy week for Keir Starmer. His second cabinet secretary, gone. His third chief of staff, gone. His fourth director of communications, gone.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
friends, welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom, Thursday, February the 26th. Whatever you're doing, you are Alarm Clock Britain. You are for common sense. 0344 499 1000 is our telephone number. Leave a voice note for Christian. You can have a chat. You can send a text 87222. What are you waking up to? Well, I disagree with Mr. Woolley. It could be U-turn number 16 on the Chagos Islands. Yes, Starmer under pressure yesterday. Pausing it. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. I'll do exactly what Donald Trump tells me. Frightening news this morning that not only do they want to give away the Chagos Islands and 35 billion quid, possibly Gibraltar as well, which has led to Brian in Coventry saying, if it carries on like this, Coventry will be the only place that hasn't been given away by Keir Starmer and his human rights cohort of idiots. There's a great clip doing the rounds. Many people will have missed this. Yesterday, in Prime Minister's Question Time, up jumped Starmer, very excited to make this announcement about energy bills, ladies and gentlemen.
The news this morning, Mr. Speaker, 7 a.m, energy bills coming down by £117. For millions of families and young people struggling, that's guaranteed money off bills in April, driven by the action that this Labour government has taken. We promised to cut the cost of living. We are cutting the cost of living.
I'm not very technically good, but a thing called Twitter that's now called X has a thing called a community note where the bosses of them say, you shouldn't have said that if you're lying. This was a few hours later when they said, no, sorry, they haven't gone down by £117. Energy bills are now £73 more expensive than when you came to power. So stop telling little porky pies, you naughty boy. Plus, the weather yesterday in the United Kingdom was warmer than Dallas, which meant that 545 new illegal migrants, no, not women and children, but young men who throw their details into the sea, short of wherever it's supposed to be, arrived. There's a story this morning that it took them, shocking this, 29 minutes and 45 seconds to get through Border Force. They were actually all 48, but they said they were 11. Straight in, have a lovely day. We're still giving the French millions of pounds and getting nothing in return. Dan, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. It's Dan from Kent. All this talk about we needed to defend our beaches from the dinghy migrants is all tosh. They only have to come halfway. Remember that. They get picked up halfway by Border Force or the RNLI and then brought back to our shores. It's like a all-inclusive package to these migrants. They paid their money, they get looked after all the way. And when they arrive on our shores, that's when all the lucrative all-inclusive deal comes in. And with a government with such a huge majority that could stop this overnight, Keir Starmer looked in the mirror and says, I'm going to smash the gangs. No, Keir, you are the gang.
I'm just looking quickly at the footage. If you're not on YouTube, it's just boats rammed full of men, and you think to yourself, right, so British taxpayers have got to make sure that you're housed, clothed, got a mobile phone and see a doctor. The world's gone barking mad. I've done this for a long time. My next guest, I just am always very honoured that she's on. I'm completely in awe of her as a writer. Sarah Vine, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? How are you?
You've had the hair. What's happened with the hair? The hair's changed, Sarah Vine. Look at that.
The hair. What do you think?
It's a morning of the bobs all going on.
Yeah. I think it's spring, you know. You don't want long hair in spring.
No, you don't want long hair in spring. What you want is nice weather so lots of migrants can come in. Have you seen this?
I've got so many things to say about this. Shall I just do it in a list?
Do whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm delighted to have you here.
Number one, the only people who need refuge are women, particularly from Afghanistan, Syria. You know, they're the ones who are being properly oppressed here, and they're the ones who need us to help them, not a load of working age young bucks who are obviously crawled over the bodies of women and children to get on those boats. I mean, it really enrages me because, you know, there's a crisis going on for women around the world in countries where the Taliban and far-right Islamists have taken over, and we should be helping them, not these people. Number two, I'm not allowed to mention there's a by-election, but I can't say it. But I can talk about Zach Polansky. Can I talk about Zach Polansky?
On a national level?
Yes. So Zach Polansky, who is the leader of the Green Party, who is polling really high, especially with young people, his policy on migrants is to let everyone come, to immediately give them housing, full benefits, not require them to work, but give them a living wage. He has basically said, anyone can come, we will treat you as though you are effectively a citizen in waiting. So, you know, it's, and that Blask is fascinating because he polls really well with young women, and this I don't understand. But he, you know, he is a sort of kind of, he presents himself as this sort of, you know, nice guy, but actually he's a hard left. I mean, he's much worse than Labour. So, you know, there's a whole big picture thing here going on. But I agree. I mean, Labour haven't managed to stop the boats. It's very difficult to stop the boats. But the people who are coming should just be ashamed of themselves.
I agree. I'm going to give you something from Poppy Coburn. I was on this morning doing the papers from the Daily Telegraph. I mean, this completely blew us all out the water, excuse the pun. Under human rights law, this is ludicrous but true. Whatever you're doing, pin back your lugholes. Under human rights law advocated by Starmer and his bunch of cronies, it would be better if we were landlocked, because if we were landlocked in this country, we could build a wall or a fence, think Trump, because we would have that right. As an island, Sarah Vine, surrounded by water, we have a human rights legal right, or whatever, not right, responsibility for people who come here illegally to pick them up, because if we don't and they drown, that'll be on us.
I know.
I find it's beyond me. What, the RNLI's become a bloody taxi service?
It has, and that is the madness of the EHCR. You know, it's just insane. But it's, you know, I don't know who. I mean, I just think someone who climbs over children and women to get here is not someone I really want here. Do you know what I mean?
No, but I completely agree. But for me, it's not difficult. I have watched swathes of politicians tell me about human rights and about logistics. The truth is, right, if you make it so brilliantly opportunists to come here, if you wipe the backsides of people who have paid nothing, you are going to encourage streams to get in whichever way. If you cut that off and you say that morally, whatever your politics, thank you so much to the married couple in Birmingham who both work jobs. One deals with the kids in the afternoon, the other in the evening. You're struggling to pay your bills, but you've never broken the law. Thank you so much. We're going to double your taxes, because what we're going to do is we're going to let people in willy-nilly who have never paid, who have no respect for our country, our traditions and our language, and we're actually going to treat them better than you.
Well,
That's
and also,
not fair.
It's not just a lack of respect. It's worse than that. They actively seem to despise us.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them, you know, it's unfortunately it is fact. If you look at the figures and if you look at the sort of the amount of assaults that we see perpetrated by migrants, it's not the case that they are coming here and going, thank you very much. I've come here because I've tried to get away from something awful, and I want to live in your country because I think it's a civilized place. That is not what is happening. No. If that was what was happening, it would be okay. But it's not. There's a total that we are importing a culture that, and I'm sorry to bang this drum again, that hates women. Yep. That doesn't believe in our values, that doesn't think that everyone should be. I mean, it's not our culture, and we have to try and contain it. And that is not being racist. That's being realistic how much a country can cope with.
Absolutely.
In terms of...
To me, it can't be deemed racist. You're right. Look what we did with Ukraine, and I'm with you. We are always and always have been ready to protect those who are vulnerable. But the BS that is spouted about we're leaving war-torn countries, no, you're not. You're leaving, OK, you are leaving a tent on a French beach, and whether people like this or not, the truth is you are coming to a 4-star hotel, you'll see a GP and a dentist, get a mobile phone and a credit card, you'll probably get benefits, and you're a lady and you're a woman and you've just said it, and so have I, you will probably, 1,000,000%, many of you, will go and attack somebody, and predominantly a woman, and that is fundamentally wrong.
So it's a safeguarding issue. Yep. We've seen what's happened with all of we've got case after case of people who have come on these boats doing terrible things. There was a 12-year-old girl who was literally dragged out of a playground by a guy the other day and raped while he filmed it on his telephone laughing. I mean, that this is just. I mean, I know that people from this country do things like that as well. But
that's not a reason to exacerbate it by having people come here who don't follow our rules.
And the thing is, if you make it a really lovely push, your previous caller was right. It's like a sort of all-inclusive super duper package.
Yeah.
You know, come here and you get all the stuff that you want that you can't get anywhere else. To be perfectly honest, if you're an illegal migrant who's come from a country, possibly because you're a criminal there already, and you come here and you do something terrible and you end up in a British jail, you're probably better off in a British jail than you would be where you've come from, because you get you get all the sort of, you get 3 hot meals a day. You get people respecting your religion. You get people, some nice person coming to talk to you about your mental health.
Don't start me on that. They'll say, this is the latest thing they say, I'm Christian, or I'm gay, or I don't like, when I say this story to people, they think I'm making it up. I can't go back because my son doesn't like the chicken nuggets in Albania.
That was a good one.
The whole thing.
But this is the problem with the ECHR. It is open to abuse. It's a bad law. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have, be mindful of human rights, but this is a bad piece of legislation that allows people to abuse it, and that's the problem with it. And that's why, Kemi Badenoch is right. We should come out of it. Parad is right. We should not be part of this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
But I just want to talk to you very quickly about, I played the clip at the beginning of the hour. Up jumped a very energetic Keir Starmer yesterday. He looked like somebody had stuff to pluck somewhere, but he was going, here we go. Energy bills. Great news, Mr. Speaker. £117 down. And then X went, you're a liar.
I saw
They're
that.
73 quid more expensive, you
I saw
blatant
that.
liar.
I saw that. I mean, I hope whichever the special advisor who made that mistake is having his feet roasted gently over a fire this morning.
But you know what you've just said, right? You think McSweeney, you think, Chris Womold, what are the other one that went, the other Tim guy? The fact is, he has surrounded himself and continues to surround himself with the most incompetent people I've never come across or thought about. Did you see the debacle over the Chagos Islands yesterday? I was working yesterday afternoon. It came through on PA. Government minister says Chagos Island deal paused because of Trump. Number 10 says, no, it's not. And then about an hour later, Number 10 said, oh, no, it is.
But he's not in control. He's a dead man walking. This is the problem. He's not in control. They're keeping him there because he's useful. He catches the bullets now. I mean, that's literally the situation that he finds himself in. He's had so many U-turns. Well, I think it's a 15 or 16, depending on whose tally you accept. And the point is that he's talking about now potentially doing a U-turn on student fees. Every single thing that he's changed his mind on practically has been pushed by the opposition, by Kemi Badenoch, who has forced him into doing it. So it's fascinating watching it, because actually she's mounting a very aggressive, very effective opposition to his policies that she disagrees with, and he is capitulating because he doesn't have the confidence and he doesn't have the backing of his ministers. And this is a problem. Sorry, my cat is here.
We love the cat. I'm going to play that clip for people just tuning in, because fair's fair. You make a really good point. Kemi Badenoch was on fire yesterday afternoon.
Everything
really?
He's done. She is making the running.
But you know what I'd say, Sarah? We're mates, right? I think, sadly, she's William Hague. I think she's the right person at the wrong time for the Tory party.
It doesn't matter, because the point is she's making him U-turn on bad policies, and that's good. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, nothing matters. Individuals don't matter in this scenario. What matters is the country, and it not going to the dogs thanks to an incompetent government.
Let's play that. Can I play that clip? But can I play the Kemi clip? Because she absolutely roasted him again. Have a listen to this.
The Prime Minister has the cheek to talk about my party being smaller. His party is smaller too, including one MP who was arrested for child sex offences. So perhaps before he gets on his high horse, he should ask why his backbenchers are saying that they're being called the Pedo Defenders Party. I know they don't like it, Mr. Speaker, but I haven't said anything that's not true, have I?
She's definitely stepped up her game, hasn't she, Sarah?
No, I mean she's feisty, and but the whole point is that British politics in general has descended into a sort of popularity contest between personalities. But what really matters is how the country is run, and whether the policies are right, and whether we're doing the right thing. And I would say that even if Kemi doesn't make it to be Prime Minister, she's done so much good work already that, her contribution to politics is important. You don't have to be Prime Minister to actually make a difference. And I think a lot of politicians kind of forget that. You don't have to hold the reins of power. There are other ways. And what she's doing is forensically tearing apart his policies, which are faulty and bad, and actually just chasing him down the road with it. And that, I think, that is very, that for me, that is, that's really exciting, proper politics.
No, I absolutely agree. Just talking about the Chagos deal, which now is apparently paused because Trump doesn't like it, and a bit more information, which you'll be ahead of me, but apparently under the deal, this is what's enraged Trump is. I mean, this is how ludicrous Starmer is. We would have to let Mauritians know if we were going to use Diego Garcia in a military way, right? Well, Mauritians are in bed with the Chinese, and that Trump's gone, so if I want to launch a raid on Iran, right, you honestly, I've got to tell the Mauritians, who tell the Chinese, who tell the Iraqis, that Iranians. That's how stupid Starmer is. But I don't know if you've heard this one. This morning, Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel has claimed overnight that a draft treaty has already been agreed for Labour to hand the Rock of Gibraltar over to Spain. That's the latest one. Have you heard this?
I mean, the thing about the Rock of Gibraltar is that it's an iconic. It's iconic because it harks back to the days when Britain was a great maritime, empire.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, it's actually. I don't know if I've actually been to Gibraltar quite a lot. I mean,
so have I.
It's not. I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't weep too many tears. But I have to say, it is. It's symbolic. It's and that I think that's one of the things that Starmer just doesn't understand. He doesn't get that people care about their country, their country's history, its place in history, and whether or not you like Gibraltar, whether or not you ever go there, whether or not it's any point. There's probably no point in us having it now anyway, because we don't have the empire that we used to have. But it is a symbol, isn't it?
And also, and I think nobody. This is what I hate about this government. To me, it's apologist, right? There are certain things in the past of almost every country, okay, that they would feel they had to apologise for. But I feel that this country is run by a man and a cabinet that don't like Britain, don't like what it's done, what it stands for. I love the fact the cat walks past. It's brilliant, right?
You get so excited.
No, it's great. And that he will do... But then you become cynical and you think to yourself, so are you doing this? Are you giving away Gibraltar? Are you giving away... Because this you feel this will make you look good? Or is it you and your human rights mates ensuring that you'll be trousering money for the rest of your time when being PM is over? I don't know.
Well, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Because there's no material, there's no reason. I mean, Starmer will not gain anything from giving away Gibraltar.
No.
It will not do him any favours with anyone, to be perfectly honest. Not the people who voted for him, not his own party, and Kemi will eviscerate him for it, no doubt. So it's just that he's just on a hiding to nothing. And I just get the sense with him that you're dealing with someone who is very, very. He's very. His value has plummeted. He is a dead man walking, I'm afraid.
He has managed in 18 months to be as unpopular as Boris at the end, Truss, Sunak. He is worse. What it is I think repeatedly is I don't understand, which sounds terrible, how anybody so lacking in political antennae, DNA, judgment, anything, has got to the highest job in the land. It frightens me.
Well, I mean, it's a sort of it's a reflection of the quality of politics these days. There are very few people who are actually in it for the right reasons, I'm afraid.
I love having you on. I love the new hairstyle. I'm so grateful. And hopefully next week, around next week. What?
Sorry about the cat. She is obsessed with you. Every time we do this, she comes and...
Well, your cat likes my voice, and she shimmies in front of the camera. Sarah, you write brilliant stuff in the Mail. Thank you for tuning in and being part of the show this morning. Sarah Vine, author and Mail columnist, 0344 499 1000, 21 minutes past 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK, and before we go to a voice note, it's that time. Oliver's sat in the car. Oliver's not going into class until his dad says, "Morning, Ollie Bolly, how are you, mate?" Rissy's in the car as well. The sun is out. Mrs K off to the beach, maybe? I don't know. She deserves it. She's working like a good one. Do you see I got a few brownie points in there. In you go, I'll see you later. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Jeremy. It's been a while since I've listened because I jumped off the Alarm Clock Britain because I was fed up of going to work. Not that I should have. But anyway, just listening about all of these people coming across. We've got a thing called the Channel. Why don't we just take them on the bus to the Channel and send them back?
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense. Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. You know, I do believe that economies can be fixed and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 8:25. We're live across the UK. It is Talk Breakfast. JK here till 10 if you want to be on 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Christine says, excuse me, Jez, I'm just switching the radio off briefly and nipping down to the beach. I'm on the Isle of Wight to bring up the drawbridge. Morning to Ben. He makes a great point about Gibraltar. If Gibraltar, which apparently is on the next hit list for Starmer to give away, has to adhere to EU rules, it will mean freedom of movement. This will mean those 1 million migrants Spain has just given permission to stay in Spain would come to the UK via Gibraltar. This would be an unmitigated disaster. And Andrew goes further, Andy in Preston. Why do we even give time of day to Spain over Gibraltar when they refuse to engage with Morocco over their disputed territories? Here's a man who knows everything about Gibraltar and indeed the Chagos Islands and indeed so much. James Carlin, Shadow Defence Secretary. Is it raining? It's a bright morning, James. How are you?
It's pretty good here and delighted to be on your show as ever.
Thank you, my friend. Before those mad placard-waving people arrive or the rain comes out, can you give me your response to the... I mean, yet again, an absolute chaotic shambles yesterday over Chagos. Nobody with a brain cell in this country thinks that giving away something that you own and then paying £35 billion whilst, you know, making sure Mauritians are better off than British people, and by the way, they're mates with China, is a good idea. Yesterday, pausing, no, we're not, now we are. What is the truth, James Cartledge?
To be honest, I found it absolutely bewildering. You hit the nail on the head about how crazy the deal is, paying all that money for land that we already own. But I was in the House of Commons chamber yesterday when we had the urgent question and the response from a floundering minister who actually said to me, said to us from the dispatch box, he was not the right minister to be answering, which is quite extraordinary. I did a point of order on it to ask where on earth was the right minister. I mean, the point is, you made a very good point earlier. So, yes, there's the money, but this is a critical military base. It's in vital for our national security, and you're correct. Under the treaty, the US and the UK would have to give notice to Mauritius of military action being undertaken from Diego Garcia. So if it were to be used, for example, to launch an attack on Iran, and B-2 bombers have been kept on Diego Garcia before, they would be presumably used in some scenarios. I think they were used in the attack last year on the Iranian nuclear facilities. We would be telling Mauritius, a close ally, as you say, of China. It's absolutely nuts. At one point yesterday afternoon, and I shared this, there were 3 different online front pages. I think one had Chagos deal paused, one had not paused, and the other uncertainty over whether paused or not. And it was just chaos, total and utter chaos. I
was in a TV studio and we were getting the news up and people were going, it's paused. No, it's not paused. I mean, it's utterly chaotic. And I made that point about Mauritians and, you know, internationally ludicrous. Thank God Trump's come to the party. And then you think about the people back here, James, and I will always talk about hard-working alarm clock Brits who are being taxed to the hilt still further. We've got the problems with migrants, but you're also saying you're happy to tell the British people, are you, that Mauritians will be income tax-free? It just doesn't make sense. And then, of course, overnight, your Shadow Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel, has claimed that firstly Chagos, James, and next Gibraltar, real fury, that apparently they want to hand the rock over. A treaty draft's been agreed, Priti says, but ministers too scared to bring it to the Commons. Basically, it will remain British, but must follow EU rules. And somebody said there, what about the millions of migrants who can now come into Britain via Gibraltar from Spain?
So, from what I understood yesterday, there may be a statement today on Gibraltar. We will find out relatively soon. The House starts at 9:30. Certainly, if what you say is true, obviously that would be totally unacceptable. I mean, from a defence point of view, Gibraltar remains absolutely critical, as it has been to our country for decades, as it was in the Second World War and so on. You know, we stand with them, very proud of that. It is extraordinary. As you say, the wider point, why does the government seem so ashamed of the idea of having you know, territory outside of the United Kingdom's waters? That's part of our culture, it's part of what it means to be British. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. And, you know, and if you go back to Chagos, were there really some legal threat that meant we could lose Diego Garcia, which is, as I said, is absolutely vital and will become ever more vital militarily, then fair enough. But there is actually this, it's a rather technical point, but incredibly important, that what we've learnt in recent weeks is that under what's called UNCLOS, United Nations Law of the Sea, Convention on Law of the Sea, there is an article of that which means if you have a military base, that is exempt from any court proceedings in relation to it. And it's court proceedings from UNCLOS which would be the threat. Now, I asked the Minister about this yesterday. Colleagues asked about it. He said, well, I don't know because I'm not the right Minister. I mean, it's such a farce, such a shambles. So, you know, there are so many questions unanswered. Where the money's going to come from? Is it going to come from the MOD? If so, what impact is it going to have on the British Armed Forces? You know, what is the legal position? I just think, in a nutshell, what's happening Gibraltar, what's happening Chagos, you're watching classic defeatism from the British Foreign Office that Starmer should reject, and certainly we totally oppose.
It's sovereignty giveaway, and of course what it does is it highlights an apologist government who I genuinely didn't think I would ever say this after 80 minutes. I don't think that party even likes the United Kingdom. I think they are interested only in this ideological claptrap that is supposed to... Yesterday we had Bridget Phillipson saying it's all right for 3-year-olds to wear dresses. I honestly, it's money for old rope on this station because every single day, James. I mean, just want to say one thing before you go. Delighted to have you. Your boss yesterday has come to the plate again. She eviscerated him in the House of Commons. I mean, we talk about dead man walking. He is less popular now than Liz Truss was, and he's only been there 18 months.
No, I have the great privilege of sitting on that front bench when Kemi is standing up at Prime Minister's questions. It's 6-0 every single time as far as we're concerned. She is showing what it means to be a leader, and whilst holding the government to account, is also coming out with really positive policies, and policies that have been costed. Because the easiest thing in politics is to tell people what they want to hear. The hard thing is to do the hard work, do the detail, and above all to find the money. So she's had a really good policy on student debt. What everyone thinks of it, and you know, there'll be different views, she's been very open and transparent. I think that's her style. It's this combination of being punchy and honest, and hopefully, you know, we'll see us continuing to land blows on the government, and maybe, dare I say, 17, 18, who knows how many more U-turns to come.
Listen, great to have you on, my friend. Really appreciate the time. James Cartledge, MP, Shadow Defence Secretary, always good to have him on. Let's cross very quickly the political editor of The Sun on Sunday. Delighted to say a very good morning. Kate Ferguson, how are you?
Hi, good to be here.
Oh, God, where do we... Actually, I'll tell you where I want to start, actually. Not on Chagos or Gibraltar or the small boats. I'd like some sort of explanation, because you're a political god, aren't you? You're like Elson. Well, both of you know everything. Yesterday, Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, made this statement to MPs and said, yes, just so you're aware, the reason Mandelson was arrested was because I got some information I thought was very important, and I passed it to the Metropolitan Police under, obviously, you know, informant, don't say a word, and they've said it was me, so I think it's very important that I tell everybody. Politically, answer me this, was that just because he's the Speaker of the House of Commons and Mandelson is sadly still a Lord, was that just as a member of the public giving information? What is this story?
It's astonishing, really, and there seems to always, like, each day be a new twist, a new sort of soap opera dynamic to this Mandelson drama. So, yes, yesterday, Lindsay Hoyle stood up in the House of Commons and sort of outed himself as the man who had tipped off the cops, saying that he thought Peter Mandelson was going to flee the country off to the British Virgin Islands. Peter Mandelson obviously denies he was going to do that. I mean, I think two things. On the one hand, Lindsay Hoyle, just an ordinary tip-off in that sense. No body's evidence or suggestion to the police is more important than another person's. But I suspect because he is a senior politician, does have that constitutional role in the House of Commons, that they gave it extra credence, really, and so that's
But
why
Kate, it didn't make any sense because the British Virgin Islands is a British territory and he could have been extradited. That's what the whole thing's just bizarre. But listen, what will be will be. You're absolutely right. The psychodrama that is Mandelson and the Royals continues. I'm so delighted you wrote this column today because yesterday this show, and I say this as a parent, I think Bridget Phillipson's one of the most frightening members of the Labour government, and when I saw her yesterday, obviously not on this station, meeting the media and talking about how she believed it was okay for 3-year-old boys in primary school to wear dresses, and this ideology that we know that is rampant in education. It's really highlighted this. You write today, this rose-tinted wishy-washy betrayal will harm working-class kids. Give me a little bit of detail on that.
Well, I wanted to do this column because Bridget Phillipson announced her education reforms earlier this week. Now, it mainly got focus on SEND education, so special educational needs.
Yeah.
But I very diligently went through this kind of long, laborious 136-page document. And I thought hidden within it were some kind of quite dangerous ideas, really. So they're talking about how they want to shift how they want to focus more on enrichment in schools. So they're talking about how kids should do more dramas and more music and how you should measure kids' kind of well-being, how happy they are in schools. Another thing for schools to be measured on and marked on. And look, that might sound nice in a perfect world, but the argument I make in my piece is that actually, if you prioritise everything, you prioritise nothing. And that the best thing you can do, particularly for working class kids who don't have the connections, don't have the money, don't have all of the resources that middle-class posher kids have, is that you could just give them decent teaching on the core subjects and give them the best advice to go out into the world, whether that's university or work. And actually, the more you water it down and sort of pretend that your after-school boxing club is as important as your maths result. I mean, I slightly ramp up the rhetoric there, but you see what I mean.
The point is so well made, and as a parent, I completely agree with you. I told the story yesterday about my granddaughter. She's 8. They sat her down in her school, her and her friends, and talked for half an hour, a new lesson about dealing with stress and, being stressed and how to deal with stress. And sorry, I'm old-fashioned. Her mum said, go to bed. She went, I can't, I'm stressed, I need to talk about it. No, go to bed, seriously. Reading, writing, arithmetic, sport, of course after-school clubs, involvement, all those sorts of things. We've got to a point, again, you said you ramped up the rhetoric, I don't think you did at all, where ideology, I'm afraid, has permeated so much of our education system, Kate, and I think that's really worrying, which is why I think it's such an important article. It's happening in universities as well, and you're right about working-class kids. They need to be given the tools to get on with their lives, right?
Yeah, and look, the point is that actually what is true today was true 50 years ago. There are certain subjects that you can do well with that will give you the best opportunity to go into university and get a decent degree and a decent graduate job if that's what you want to do. Now, that's also true that there's brilliant vocational training. Apprenticeships are probably where the future's at, probably more secure, probably more dough in some of those subjects that maybe once upon a time people were quite snobby about. But you want to be realistic and genuine about the advice you give people and stop pretending that everything equates to something as good as the next. And that thing that you were saying about the kids being given lessons in stress, I mean, I would argue that a school that teaches well, that has clear discipline, and where kids kind of read, right, is the best thing for your stress. The best thing you can do for stress is probably open a book and read.
I'm so with
rather
you.
than talk about it.
Listen, I've been to a school with one of my daughters, and the bloody headmaster is on the side during a game of hockey saying, come on both sides. My son told me in his school, you've got the A's, the B's, the C's and the D's. The A's won every cricket match, and halfway through the season, they dropped 2 for every game to give 2 from the D. So I'm not being rude, couldn't even hold a cricket ball in their hand. A chance so they didn't feel excluded and the team lost and the other 9 got really hacked off. We seem to have got away from, it's okay to be stressed, it's okay to lose, it's all right to win, it's all right to fail, it's all right to succeed. It's part of growing up, this whole ideology of, we're going to make sure you're all right. we just had to be all right. I'm not talking about not caring, but we've gone soft, and your article's absolutely on the money for that, haven't we?
Yeah, and actually mollycoddling kids, you're just setting them up to fail later on. So that thing about no one fails, it's interesting those schools do that, because actually probably the poshest, best schools now are starting to give lessons in failure because they think it's so important that people kind of like learn how to do it. And so, like, in some schools, it might be well intentioned, but what happens when they go into the real world and they've not, ever had that experience? So I just think some of this kind of wrapping them up in cotton wool, it's a bit kind of sticking your head in the sand, but also it just doesn't really help those kids in the long term. I
completely agree. Would love to talk more. Get the paper, peeps. Great article by Kate Ferguson this morning, all about the government's plans for the education system. Morning, John.
Morning, Jeremy. John from Orpington. Yesterday's supposed cut in energy prices is paid for by general taxation, so working people would have to pay for it anyway. Not if your alarm clock doesn't go off. Cheers.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 20 to 9. We're live across the United Kingdom. Still this hour, Samara Gill here with a shocking story. But we're delighted to be joined now, and I mean completely delighted, by the founder and head teacher of Michaela Community School. She is known as Britain's strictest headmistress. Catherine Burble-Singh, good morning.
Morning.
Very good to have you on. I'm going to play you a clip because as a parent I'm trying not to chomp at the bit too early. This is our Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, yesterday, people. Have a listen.
In allowing children just to consider who they are, to behave in ways that might not be aligned with their sex or their gender. Mm-hmm. So if a boy wants to wear dresses, we should just, if we allow that to work, children will experiment at different points. They will consider who they are. That just taking a watchful approach.
Catherine, I'm a parent of 6. I fear our education system is now based almost entirely on ideology and has moved away, as Kate Ferguson says in The Sun today, from what I call the basics, which is reading, writing and arithmetic. Failing's okay, winning's all right. What's going on?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm deeply shocked. I don't understand how our education secretary could possibly be saying such things, that children of 5, a boy should be wearing a dress. This is just absurd. And it's not just absurd, it's dangerous. And when she says that teachers should tell parents, but if there's a safeguarding concern, then we mustn't tell parents. Well, I can tell you that there will be a safeguarding concern most times. So what she's saying is we teachers are perfectly okay in affirming a child wanting to change their gender and us not telling the parents. Absolutely. I find it absolutely, I don't know what to say. I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you completely. I give you a scenario. You are known as Britain's, and I use smile, strictest teacher, right? In an area that would never have worked. So I put to you, a boy of 4 arrives at your school in a dress. What happens, Catherine?
Well, a child of any age we would immediately tell the parents. Of course we would. This idea that if there's a safeguarding concern, don't worry, you don't need to tell the parents. Do you know how many parents across the country have been struggling with schools where teachers have not been honest with the parents because they think that they're being supportive of the child in doing so? They are children. They are not adults. It is our role as adults to lead them and to keep them safe, encouraging them to explore. What if they think they're a giraffe? What if they think that they're a bird? Children think all sorts of things. We don't then get them wings so they can fly about the school. Do you know that in schools, they actually have, some schools, they have cat litter boxes because children are wearing ears and coming into school pretending to be cats. They're pretending to be snow leopards and dogs and all kinds of things. This is absurd. We are meant to be in charge, and our education secretary should not be saying these things. They're extremely dangerous. She's encouraging an entire profession to lie to parents. It's absurd and dangerous, and I'm so concerned. I don't understand how she is in charge of our education system.
I couldn't agree more. I've told the story on numerous occasions about, you've just said it, about furries, and I've been to a university in Brighton with my number 3, as I call her, Ava, and there were people with tails, and if that happened to me, I put a bloody cat litter tray outside the door and say, do you know what, you're not coming in. And the whole thing is ludicrous. We've got away from doing the basics, preparing kids for life. I said, I don't know if you heard it, my granddaughter came home the other day and said, oh, we've had a new lesson in the afternoon for dealing with stress. She also went on to say that if a genuinely true story, that if a kid turned up dressed like that, or a girl kissed a girl or a boy kissed a boy, that if anybody, I promise you this, Catherine, if anybody said anything, the police would be called, because that's what's happening in the real world. And I really do tell you this. Parents, the length and breadth of this country, are terrified, I think, with what's actually happening inside schools that they don't damn well know about.
Exactly. Like, I mean, look, we have a wonderful role as teachers, helping raise children, but they are not our children. They belong to their parents. And so if there's anything that presents any kind of concern, we must immediately tell the parents, and we should never use this idea. Yes, if we feel that the parents are a danger to their children, you know, so if they are abusing their children, in that case, absolutely, we need to handle that with care. But the fact of the matter is that safeguarding these days is used as a title to describe any number of different issues. And I can tell you that her having said that tells teachers, actually, most of these issues will be safeguarding. If the child says, oh my goodness, I'm worried that if I were to say to my mum that I actually quite like wearing dresses, I'm 5 years old, but if I say that I want to wear dresses, then, oh gosh, she might get very angry with me. Well, that immediately signals to the child, to the teacher, safeguarding issue, I mustn't tell the parent. This is so dangerous. And I can understand how parents would listen to Bridget Phillipson and think, oh my goodness, can I really send my child to school? Can I trust my child's school? And it destroys the trust that exists and must exist between schools and teachers for us all to do a good job in raising that child. It is a wonderful privilege to be able to participate in the raising of a child, but we must do that in conjunction with the parents. And
common sense. I mean, one of the things that's written about you in the Michaela Community School is that you are unashamedly old-fashioned. It's please and thank you. It's polished shoes. It's uniform. It's that writing, arithmetic, reading, all those sorts of things. My wife, bless her, every night reads to my children when I'm doing whatever, working, whatever, because that's what you do. You go into the school, you talk to teachers, you find out what's going on. They'll talk to you back. You've had tremendous success by doing the very things that so much of us crave, which goes in the face of the ideological crap that comes out of this government's mouths.
That's right. And I don't know what to say, really, because it's just so worrying that this is how they think. And the fact is that we are adults. We are in charge, and the children are meant to be in our care, and we're meant to be looking after them. And so children do lots of silly things. Children are children, and that's why we love them, and they're naughty and so on. And that's why we give them detentions and we tell them off. And that's why we also give them gold stars and tell them well done, because we have an idea of where we're trying to take them, and that we're developing them into something so that they can become the sorts of adults that we would admire and respect. They are going to do all sorts of silly things when they're younger. We are not meant to indulge them in every fantasy that they've got. That is not our role. And the idea that we're all just mates with our kids, and whether we're parents or teachers, and that we just do what the kids say, it just demonstrates just how far we have lost the understanding of what it is to be an adult and to be in authority with children.
I completely agree with this. Fear of failure, somebody said their child now has lessons in. Failing's all right. Messing up's all right. You tell a porky pie, you get called out, you learn from the experience. You get a gold star, but you are allowed to say you didn't do well enough. But we live in a world now, if you say to somebody, oh, you didn't do well enough, they go, oh, I'm going to have 6 months off for anxiety. It's not the real world, Catherine, is it?
Exactly. They talk about trauma. I heard a word that gave me trauma. Somebody said something that was critical. I'm now traumatized. This is totally ridiculous. Children need constructive criticism. They need to learn from their mistakes. They need to make lots of mistakes. And they need guidance from the adults in their lives. They do not need weak adults who are then indulging them in certain fantasies because it makes us feel better about ourselves.
Can I suggest that if I was ever in a position to be in power in this country, you would be the education secretary with me eyes closed, because you talk complete common sense. And I'd love to talk forever, but you know what it's like when you're doing this. But thank you, and I mean that. Amazing. Founder and head teacher of Michaela Community School in London, known as Britain's strictest headmistress. I just call her full of common sense. Catherine Burble-Singh, thank you very much indeed. Talk Breakfast.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense. Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. I do believe that economies can be fixed, and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
UK. On DAB+. On YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Can I just say, if you have young ears listening in the car or at home, you might want to move them away from the dial. We don't hide away from anything on Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense. A very good morning to our wonderful, wonderful breakfast presenter, reporter, sidekick, legend, Samara Gill. Hello.
Hello. Great
This
to be
is
here.
your moment, because this is extraordinary. Explain, play, do whatever.
Well, this is a story that we've been following really, really closely on Talk for quite a long time, but we decided to actually go down to Stoke, where this guy, Jayden Sheeran, lives. Now, Jayden is actually the product of a rape gang. So his mum was 14. She was plied with alcohol. She was doused in curry powder, and then she was sexually assaulted by a group of Pakistani rape gang men, for lack of a better term. And she not basically a couple weeks after went to the STD clinic and found out she was pregnant with Jayden. Now, he was born 9 months later. Unfortunately, the case was dropped by the CPS. She went to the police straight after. Case was dropped by the CPS. Her dad said, there were rumours that it was because she was an unreliable source. And she was a 14-year-old girl at the time. What can you say? Now, unfortunately, the mother was, she's dead now because she had alcoholism and it eventually took her life. But Jayden, who's 19, he's been fighting the good fight for her. And his grandmother, Ange, who predominantly raised him, is there. They have still received no justice. So I want to just bring in a clip of Jayden to where he's at right now and how he actually lives every day fearing for his life because of government inaction.
So I've seen him a couple of times now, to be fair. The thing is, it's a case of I don't want to make myself too well known to him, because from what I've heard, he's a dangerous bloke and things like that. So for me now, it's just about getting something done legally, because I feel like it could get to a point where he's taking matters into his own hands and maybe make me go missing or something like that. Like, that's always in the back of my head when I live here, and I've got a child, I've got a family myself around here. No one's doing something. I'm doing things like this to try and make my mum in a better situation, my nan in a better situation. The whole situation needs to get better, but I think doing things like this is a good thing for me, because I'm putting myself out there and I'm letting people know you shouldn't be scared. Do you know what I mean? And there's no reason to be scared. Like, why should I hide in my own city because someone did bad things to my mum, and now I've got to suffer now? I think it's wrongfully to do that.
It's extraordinary. I mean, what a brave young man. I know we haven't got a lot of time. I'd love more. You've got another clip as well.
I have got another clip. This is just about the fact that Jayden has received no inquiry, which I just think is a stain on all governments that have presided over this.
Yep.
He has been crying out. He's been going to every sort of outlet that will talk to him. And not a lot of outlets do want to talk to him as well, because, grooming gangs, Pakistani grooming gangs, oh, shock, horror, they don't want to cover it. So I'm glad here at Talk that we're giving him the time of day. Let's just listen to why he hasn't received an inquiry.
Well, obviously, we went up to Houses of Parliament to see him, me and my nan and a few other of my family members, and we were expecting some light to come from it for me mum's story. We were expecting a bit more exposure, obviously, and obviously we thought he was going to do something. Not obviously, I know he's not the police, he's not the CPS, he can't arrest me dad, do them type of things, but from what I've seen online, it seems to me that all the stuff that's going on now, like I respect the rape gang inquiry. I do respect it, because at the same time, it might not be me, you're helping other people, but to me it's like you're doing it for votes, and I aren't interested in that. I don't associate with any of that. If you're using my mum's story and me for votes, I won't be involved in it at all.
What a brave young man. The clamour for a national rape inquiry continues.
Well, he's also referencing Rupert Lowe there,
yeah,
who actually pissed him off.
Independently done this. Rupert Lowe
actually didn't. Rupert Lowe ghosted him, which is very interesting information.
Sorry, I thought Rupert Lowe was setting up his own independent.
Well, apparently he brushed him off. Rupert Lowe made them come down there, take photos with him, and then Rupert Lowe never contacted them again. Now, this is all alleged. We're going to obviously...
We'll put that to Rupert Lowe. He can come and have that discussion.
But shows you a little bit of behind the scenes, maybe, of just how optically illusionary some of these sort of grooming gangs inquiries are.
I think the grooming gang scandal is the biggest stain ever in this country. It's right up there with the post office scandal. I think you're absolutely right. It's not just this government, it's successive governments, it's the establishment. That man, a product of a grooming gang rape. How brave is that man? Can I just say, Kev O'Sullivan on Drive this afternoon, sounding great. We'll play that entire package between 4 and 7. You'll also be able to get it on YouTube. That is fantastic work. Must be an honour, though, to meet somebody like that and to see the fight and fire in his belly, right?
You know, it really is. Him and Ange are continuing to fight, and
they'll get our support.
I just really think that it's a shame that he can't even take a taxi, he told me, because he's fearful that he'll bump into his biological father,
who's a scumbag who should be absolutely locked up for what he did to Jaden's mother.
The grooming gangs are still operating as we speak, and that's what he said to me, and that's an absolute tragedy for this country.
Imagine how brave you must be to know that your father's a rapist, that he's abused underage women. One of them was your mother, and your fight continues. It's an amazing piece of work from Samara Gill. As I said, on Drive Time later on with Kevin O'Sullivan between 4 and 7, you will get that full package. That'll be brilliant, and also on YouTube as well. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're live across the UK. And coming next, the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer for Reform, new position, Robert Jenrick, who defected a few weeks ago. Takes your calls on Ring Rob, 0344 499 1000 nearly, or 87222. Start your message with the word talk. News next.
The UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Final hour of the JK Breakfast Show for Thursday. It's all Chagos, it's Gibraltar, it's the boats, it's lying prime ministers. Fantastic piece from Samara Gill there about a young man. I have to keep coming back to this. 14 years of age, Jaden. You discover that you are the product of a grooming gang rapist. Your mother no longer here because of alcohol issues, how her life was destroyed. Your grandmother, just a strong lady, brings you up, and you are fighting for justice. You heard Samara say, and this is what we were told, that he approached Rupert Lowe, the man who set up, with much fanfare, a grooming inquiry, has ghosted him. I don't know if that's true. That was what was said. We're gonna look into that. My next guest promises to look into that as well. It's time for, ladies and gentlemen, Ring Robert Jenrick, and apparently we've got a new jingle. Rob, here we go.
Right.
Is that it? Sorry.
Jeremy, that's a bit underwhelming, I have to say.
Mate, it's the most underwhelming thing I've ever seen.
How much effort went into that?
Honestly, was that it? Look, they're looking all arsey. It said it on the thing. The people who are listening don't even know he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Jenrick in the building. How are you?
Thank you. Well, I would sack whoever created that new jingle.
Brilliant. Well, there, you've changed, haven't you? No sackings here, I promise you. Mate, there's loads of people that want to talk to you about economics. They want to talk to you about an issue. Whatever it is, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. If you want to send a question to Rob, you can call, you can send a voice note, same number as ever, 0344 499 1000. He's here for 45 minutes, so get your questions in right now. Really important. 87222. Start your message with the word talk, and 0344 499 1000. Loads of people already asking about this debacle over Chagos yesterday.
Yeah.
Will it be Starmer's 16th U-turn? And the most important thing to ask you is, it seems that Trump has jumped around because This is how stupid our Prime Minister is, in my opinion. It turns out that in the deal, we and the US would have to tell the Mauritians if we want to use their Air Force base to launch an attack. And of course, the US is in trouble re Iran. Mauritius is a friend of China. The whole thing's ludicrous, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, it is the most ridiculous situation you can imagine. I was actually in the chamber with Nigel Farage and others yesterday when this minister, Hamish Faulkner, was all over the place. He didn't seem to know what was going on. He said he was in charge, they said he wasn't. It was paused, and then somebody or other from Downing Street said, no, it's not paused, but it's not happening. I mean, it's a complete and utter mess. And the biggest thing to me is the money that is going to be spent on this. You know, £35 billion. I don't know what streets Starmer walks, but the people I talk to when I chat to my constituents are worried about the potholes on the road, the waiting lists in the NHS, you know, the taxes that are going up all the time, relentlessly. Imagine what this money could do for our country,
and also
rather than spending it on this completely insane situation.
I completely agree. And if it goes wrong, we're going to pay millions because he's messed up again.
We're not going to pay. I mean, certainly not if there was a reform government. I mean, mark my words, we're not going to go and give compensation to Mauritius if this deal falls apart, which I hope it does. And look, in the end of the day, I'm not really interested in what Donald Trump has to say about this. I don't mean that disparagingly. I want the British people's interests to come first. The British Prime Minister should be doing what's in our national interest, and that, quite clearly, is not giving away sovereign territory to the friend of a rival of ours and spending billions of pounds in the process. But Starmer himself said that the deal wouldn't happen if it didn't have the support of the President of the United States. And now, very clearly, the President has said, no, end it, finito. So the whole thing needs to be ditched.
Well, overnight, a woman who you're not particularly close to, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Priti Patel, says there are rumours abounding that they've already prepared a paper on the next thing, which will be the Gibraltar as a thing, giving it to Spain.
Well, nothing would surprise me, because you remember it was Tony Blair who tried to get rid of Gibraltar years ago, to betray the Gibraltarians, and then it was only after a similar campaign, actually, to what's happened on Chagos, you know, where Parliament was in uproar, people were very angry that he was forced to back down. At the end of the day, I think they have no regard for the history and heritage of our country. They don't feel the love that many of us have for these places that have been part of our national story for hundreds of years. They have no regard for the people who live in these places, who just simply want to make their own choice. The Gibraltarians clearly want to be British. Remember, there was a referendum not so long ago where almost everyone on the rock said they wanted to remain within the United Kingdom's orbit. And they don't really care about our national interests. What they're much more interested in is this obsession with the myth of international law, you know, prizing being lauded by foreign courts and judges, some of whom, you know, are Chinese and Russian. It's a complete joke over the security interests of our own country.
Loads of people to get to. Let's get straight to the phones, Robert. Paul is in Southampton. You through to Robert Jenrick.
Morning, Jezza. Morning, Rob. I have a question for you regarding benefits that you said were going to be stopped for non-British citizens, which I agree with. What are you going to do in relation to the Europeans that have been over here for years taking our benefits when they shouldn't really be getting any, because the free movement system said they're not allowed to become a burden on the state that they're actually living in?
Yeah, well, really good question, Paul. We come to this at Reform from a very simple principle that we should always put the interest of the British people first. And we simply can't afford as a country, and neither is it fair, to be spending billions and billions of pounds on social housing, on universal credit, on the NHS for people who are not British. You know, the NHS is a national health service, not an international health service. And so we've been very clear that a Reform government in its first budget will end giving any benefits to people who aren't British.
How do you determine not British?
Well, people who aren't British citizens. You know, I hear this debate all the time. Oh, how can you know, is this racist? Somebody said the other day. It's not racist, is it? It's complete nonsense. If you're a British citizen, then you get all the benefits that come.
So if you come here illegally and you're sitting here, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
it's
not just people who come here illegally. You know, if you want to come here as a student, as a visitor, on a short-term visa to come and work, then there's no reason why you should be able to get all the benefits of the British state. If I went to live in, you know, India, I wouldn't expect to get a council house. I wouldn't expect, if I got ill, to necessarily get free healthcare. Of course, we want to be a hospitable country to people, but it's just not fair that somebody who is finding life tough at the moment, as so many people are, you know, with the cost of living, all the challenges, as I say, tax rises, bills going up all the time, that hard-working Brits should be paying for other people from other parts of the world to come here and take advantage of our welfare state.
Newly ennobled Shadow Chancellor Exchequer, lots of the questions today will be financial. I've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, dear.
I've heard you on 3 occasions since you got that job talking about alarm clock Britons, Robert Jenrick. Where did you get that from?
Ooh, was it one of the country's leading...
Good. Well, we could do with a bloody talk next time. And
Actually,
as Jeremy Kyle says on Talk, it's about alarm clock Britain.
Very good. Well, someone did say it was Nick Clegg, so it's either Jeremy Kyle or Nick Clegg.
Yeah,
I'd rather it was Jeremy Kyle.
Yeah, you're right. Let's go to Huddersfield. Russell, you're through to Robert Jenrick. Good morning.
Good morning to you both. Yeah, it was just about the Renters' Rights Act. Are you going to overhaul that if you get in?
Let me explain why, because some of our opponents, like Labour, have said, well, is this an assault on the millions of people, particularly younger people, who are renting in this country? No, absolutely not. You know, this may have been well-intentioned legislation, but it's been completely misguided. What's happened is by loading unfair regulations on perfectly good landlords, particularly the small landlords, you know, accidental landlords, people who we know who've chosen to buy a property for their savings, perhaps they don't understand or trust the stock market, perfectly normal and legitimate thing to do. By loading regulation onto those people and making them worried that they won't be able to sell it when they need to, they won't be able to get rid of the bad tenants when they have them, they're leaving the market. And as a result of that, there are fewer rental properties and the cost of renting is just going up and up and up. You know, that we see it in our big cities, but we also see it in small places as well, where the rental market is much, much tighter. And that's not good for anyone. It's certainly not good for the landlords, but most importantly, the people I really care about are the renters. It's not good for them either. So we are going to get rid of it. There may be things that we can do to improve the position of tenants. For example, giving people a proper notice period. You know, if you've got kids, you don't want to be asked to leave your home, which is perhaps near to school or near to work, and have, you know, only 30, 60 days notice. So maybe there are things that we can do with careful thought to give people the rights that they need. But the present piece of legislation that Labour pushed through, actually also with, which had come under the last Conservative government with Michael Gove, who'd developed it, it is ill-conceived, it's hurtful to the very people that it's setting out to support. And on the housing market more generally, you know, the biggest thing we can do is stop mass migration. 90% of the deficit of new homes in this country is because we've had so many people coming in recent years.
I was going to say, and also in terms of renting with mass migration, how many stories, Christian, have we heard on this show of people saying, we've been thrown out of our house with no notice because our landlord signed a 3-year deal with the government to house 10 illegal migrants and has paid me. And I sort of don't blame the landlord for taking the deal, but then we've got people, again, hard-working, alarm clock Brits who are paying their taxes, who've got nowhere to live. So many people wanting to get on this morning. James says, in Canterbury, what is Robert's reaction to 545 migrants arriving on the busiest day for Channel crossings this year yesterday?
Well, it started all over again, hasn't it? It's very clear, you know, smash the gangs, stop the boats. These slogans are complete and utter nonsense. The only limiting factor on people crossing the Channel right now is the weather. So as soon as we move out of this bad period that we've had at the start of this year, as soon as the sun is shining and the wind isn't so strong in the middle of the Channel, it's back again. We all know that the only way to resolve this, as some of us have been saying for a very long time now, is a proper deterrent. Everyone is detained, everyone is deported, no access to the human rights
I want to strip
laws.
this down.
And I have to say, if you listened to Zia Youssef, Reform's new Shadow Home Secretary, to a speech just by the seafront in Dover the other day, you would have heard from a man who is absolutely determined to fix this problem.
Let's make this as simple as possible for people who weren't able to listen to what Zia Youssef said. So many political parties and politicians will say, now we're going to stop the boats. We're going to come out of the ECHR. Nigel Farage has, yes, been consistent, but this is, in layman's terms, do you believe that people should be detained? Do Reform believe people should be detained before they get to the United Kingdom? Because I do, right? Or do you believe they should be detained when they get there? Because history teaches that once they get here, they're almost impossible to find.
Yeah. Well, look, once they've arrived here, it's obviously tough. But that's the whole point of what we're saying. We're saying that we're not going to spend all our time debating, how you fix things once people are here, where they're housed. Is it better in a hotel or an HMO or something? No, people are sick of this. People are sick of dealing with the symptoms of this problem. You've got to fix it once and for all. And that means sending a very clear message that if you attempt to cross the channel, then you will be intercepted.
By the Navy?
If necessary, yes, absolutely. We've been very clear on that. And you'll be detained, you'll be deported. You will never walk the streets of this country. And when we say deported, you'll go back home, even if that is somewhere which might seem
What if you haven't got an agreement with that country? How are Reform going to do that?
Well, we're going to be much tougher than previous governments have been, use some of the leverage of this country. We're not a weak country. We've behaved like, we are some pathetic, enfeebled country. Actually, we have leverage.
So it would be easier to make more deals, more return deals with more countries?
Yeah, but we're going to use some muscle. We're going to use some of our muscle. Look at what the EU has said during the week. Take Pakistan, for example. We're giving tens of thousands of visas to Pakistan every year, and frankly, £150 million in aid, or thereabouts. Enough. If they don't take back the illegal migrants and the foreign criminals who are in our prisons, well, they can kiss goodbye to the foreign aid and they can kiss goodbye to the visas. We're going to pause that, which means no one from Pakistan will be able to come to the United Kingdom until they change their tune. And that is just what the British people now expect, because the patience of the public has completely snapped. And, when I look at Zia, I see somebody who is very, very determined. And I'm sick of all of these Home Secretaries. Look at Yvette Cooper, look at Shaban Mahmood, who talk the talk, 10 out of 10 for rhetoric, but don't do anything about it. I believe in Zia, we've got somebody who, when he says this, he means it. And that is what the British public now wants.
Sarah says about Zia Yusuf's speech, he talked of visa bans and the Muslim Brotherhood ban, burqa bans, and how to bring down immigration. She says a lot of this would have come under your previous brief. Is he saying the right thing?
He is. He's absolutely on the right. And there are other things I thought that he said that were excellent, like taking on Islamist extremism, for example. One of the big challenges in our country today. And he's saying that he's going to direct the resources of the state to tackle that. No more hate preachers in mosques, no more dodgy charities spreading this stuff. The Prevent programme being directed to actually focus on Islamist extremism, because that's what our security services are saying that 3/4 of the problem comes from. He also said, what I thought was very interesting, that a Reform government would recognise that, though of course we're a multi-faith, multi-ethnic society, we are rooted in our Christian heritage, and that's something that's important, and people of all faiths and none can recognise that. And so we're going to take steps to preserve that and hand it on to the next generation. So, for example, no more churches that fall on hard times being turned into mosques. Let's ensure that the history that has been given to us by previous generations is actually passed on to the next.
But I don't think this government cares about our history. In fact, I think it's embarrassed by it. People are voice noting as well. This is... I'm not even going to prepare you for this. Liv, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Liv from Shropshire here. Great show, as always. I've just been listening about the schools and that wonderful lady that spoke lots of common sense just. And I was having this conversation with my daughter this morning on the back of the conversations you were having, and she says, but Mum, kids can be whatever they want to be. I says, not when it's detrimental to their mental health. I says, if you're encouraging children's fantasies as well, once one starts, kids follow suit. And soon you'll have schools full of cat litters and furries.
This is on the back of Bridget Phillipson yesterday, who I unashamedly think is one of the most dangerous people on the front bench, who said that it's all right for boys to wear dresses. We had Catherine Birbalsingh, who should run the education system in this country just now. Absolutely brilliant, saying, look, she said, reading, writing, arithmetic, failing's okay, everybody gets stressed, winning's all right, losing's all right, gold stars are all right, and being told off's all right. All the things that matter. What's Reform's position educationally?
Well, firstly, look what Bridget Phillipson said. She said that a 5-year-old boy could come to school in a dress. This is complete insanity. I mean, a 5-year-old shouldn't even really know what transgender is. They should just be enjoying the start to their life without worrying about all of these things that people are pushing at the moment. It's very dangerous, this ideology. And even though the Supreme Court has had to intervene and tell people like Bridget Phillipson, the Prime Minister, what a woman is, enforce in law basic common sense and biology, you still got the education secretary of this country unable to come to the right conclusions. It's a total and utter disgrace. We've been very clear. enough of that nonsense. We're not going to push this dangerous ideology on our kids. Of course they can make their own choices when they're older, but not when they're children. Preserve childhood. You know, children should be able to just grow up without having
I've
this,
got a question.
this pushed
If
upon
reform
them.
get in, will he ban puberty blocking tests
Yes.
on innocent kids?
Yeah, we've been very clear on that.
Terrible.
And, you know, Wes Streeting, who supposedly is one of the more sensible people in the Cabinet, has allowed this to continue. I believe it's another thing that's been paused now. But how he even allowed it to get to this point, I've no idea. And in terms of what we want to do to schools, we want a patriotic British curriculum that teaches our young people about our history, our heritage and our culture, and creates a binding sense of national identity to fight all of this division and sectarianism that we see in the country at the moment.
The boss has said we're going to break. We're coming back. Keep the calls coming. 0344 419 1000. Text to 87222. Ring Robert Jenrick. I'm not playing the jingle again. It's crap. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 23 minutes past 9. Ring Rob. You can text Rob. You can voice. I don't know if we can change the name of it. We've changed the jingle and that's rubbish. Let's change the name of it. Just use Rob Jenrick however you want. Twice a month. 0344 419 1000. Rob, let's get back to the phone lines. In London, Phil, good morning. You're through to Robert Jenrick.
Good morning. So here was my scenario. Here's how something played out for me a little while ago. Well, a few years ago. My partner, who's Swedish, arrived in the UK in 1991, was married to someone in 1995, an English person. She then, after the 2008 financial crisis, got made redundant on the same day that I got made redundant, and she lost her job. She had 2 children. Obviously, she had brought up, they were sort of 8 and 5 at the time, and she got obviously made redundant, and she was finding it hard to find a job. Her husband, who was English, said to her, "Why don't you go on the dole? They'll look after you." My partner, being Swedish, so who's got a great sort of work ethic, said, "No, I want to keep my mortgage, I want to keep my house." So what you're saying, Jenrick, is that you will stop. If it was me and my partner was being made redundant on the same day, I would get benefits, but my partner wouldn't, even though she wants to work. Is that what you're saying?
No, not quite. Look, what we are saying is that if you are not British, then you shouldn't be claiming benefits. But there are people who are so-called EU settled status. So they're people who've come here and have a special status as a result of a treaty that the UK entered into.
She doesn't take British citizenship. She's been here since 91. She's worked hard. There's millions of people like this. The thing about you, Jenrick, and reform is this thing of gaslighting people. And I fear for this country, because if you look at 26% of reform voters said they will vote reform to end elites, to get rid of elites. If you look at the very definition of an elite, Farage is an elite. He's a multi-millionaire elite. 26% of reform voters will vote for an elite to go against their best interest. I hope you don't see the light of day, your party. I will do everything in my power to make, and I'm a white British working class man. I don't want to see you in power. You're divisive, you're nasty, and I will do everything I possibly can to make sure that you and your mob don't see power.
The one thing about this show, well, I do it, and you know this, we take it both ways,
look,
and we're all older. You have to.
And if I can address this, look, I don't think it's too much to ask to say that hard-working Brits who are citizens of this country should have their taxes, which are already at record highs, spent on helping people who are British citizens. Of course, there are people who come into this country from other parts of the world who've lived here for a very long time, who are contributing
Will they be
every day.
for him,
but what we want
away from his angle? Will his wife be looked at differently because she's paid tax?
Well, we want to encourage those people to become British citizens.
Right.
You know, our country isn't a hotel. If you live here for a long period of time, then you should be becoming a British citizen. I think that's the right thing to do, because we see citizenship as something that's positive. You know, we should be encouraging people to, if they want to live here, have families, make a life here, then to actually buy into the country fully and become a British citizen. There are those people who have so-called EU settled status, and that's a treaty obligation the UK's entered into. That's something we're going to look into, but we're not. That's not priority to rip that up. Obviously, that's got to be done in negotiation with the EU, and we've got to make sure we look after people appropriately. There are Brits as well who rely on that, who are living in Europe at the moment.
OK, I want to get through as much as possible. Let's shoot to North Wales. Julian, couple of minutes. You're through to Robert Jenrick. Good morning.
Good morning, both. Good to be able to talk to Robert Jenrick directly. I'm just confused by all the claims of we're going to change this, we're going to change that, it'll all come into effect from day one, when in reality you're going to require a lot of legal changes. How will the Reform Party change all the laws it needs to when it has no members of the House of Lords, where all legislation eventually goes before being allowed by the House of Commons?
Very good question. Look, we don't pretend this is easy. The country's in a mess right now. It requires massive change, and that is what reform stands for. Some things we'll be able to do on day one. I mean, for example, we want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights so that we can get control over our borders.
But there'll be a legal challenge to
that. Well, that's something that you can give notice to on day one. It does take time. There's a 6-month notice period. There's going to be legislation that we're going to have to pass through Parliament, and we're going to draft that where it matters most before the next general election so that we're ready to go, armed with the legislation. But yeah, look, there will be a lot of people who will oppose this, whether that's in Parliament, in the House of Lords, in the media, in parts of the civil service and the judiciary. We're prepared for that.
You have the will to deal with that.
And so at the end of the day, it comes down to political will, but also planning. And that is what you can see from both this Labour government, who came into office without any plan whatsoever, and frankly some of the previous governments as well. If you look at Boris Johnson winning a massive majority in 2019, barring getting Brexit done a few months later, no idea really what to use that prize of a majority for. We're not going to make those mistakes, and you can see in the things that have been announced in the last fortnight that we're moving in the right direction. We've now got the senior team in place. We've got people like Danny Kruger, very capable people who are preparing for what a reform government will look like. We're building a strong team. We're going to put in place a comprehensive plan, and we're ready to go so that people can have confidence that if they vote for change, I believe they will do it at the next general election, it's actually going to be delivered.
It's about honesty, though, isn't it? What I hear from a lot of people is, whether they believe you or not, that there's doubts, like he said, like Julian said, that it's going to be possible to do it, but you've just got to be honest with the people, good and bad. Very quickly, moving on, Josh in Manchester, this is a great question. Morning, I have a very important question for Robert Jenrick. I'm on the fence. I hate Labour, I hate the Tories, and I really want to get behind your party, but as a Jew, it's very important to me to understand Reform's stance on Israel.
Well, we're strong supporters of Israel. In fact, we've just launched an organisation that is going to take Reform candidates and members of Parliament to Israel to see it, to understand the issues. Look, we ultimately believe in putting Britain first, so we're not, in the pockets of any foreign country. We don't like. We stand against sectarian voting. I want one country under the United Kingdom flag. I'd hate walking the streets and seeing the flags of Gaza and Pakistan on lampposts rather than the Union flag or the flag of St. George. But we do believe that Israel matters because it's the only democracy in the Middle East. It's right that country continues to prosper and thrive, and that we in the United Kingdom stand beside it, particularly its battle against terrorism like Hamas and Hezbollah. We've done that in the past and we will do in future if we're lucky enough to be in government.
Pete says, re your new brief as Shadow Chancellor, a Bank of England chief economist said over the weekend that his daughter's struggling to find work and he blames Labour. How would you and Reform solve youth unemployment?
Yeah, very good question. Probably the most important question in the economy right now as a result of all the uncertainty that Reeves has created, as a result of all the tax rises like the national insurance increases, the increase in business rates. You've seen this huge increase in unemployment now. It's rising month and month and month. It's the highest level now since the pandemic. I mean, can you believe that? Unemployment, it takes a special art to bring unemployment up to the level it was in the pandemic when the government literally shut down the economy. And in particular, it's young people who are suffering. What is Reform going to do about this? Well, we want to cut out the waste that government is spending at the moment, giving, aid to foreign countries, the hotels for illegal migrants. We're wasting huge amounts of money on mad net zero policies. By doing that, then we'll be able in time to bring down the taxes that are hurting the economy at the moment. We want to have a different energy policy so that businesses, particularly industry, can be competitive again. You can't have industry in this country.
When you say a different energy policy, you're not going to buy it doubly costed from Europe. You're going to... Here's a question from me, actually. Would a Reform government drill, baby drill?
Yeah, of course. We said we want to get...
Would you frack?
We're going to make use of the natural resources that our country has, that in particular in the North Sea. That means getting absolutely every last barrel of oil out of the North Sea so we can create jobs, get the tax revenue that comes with that. And we want to have new nuclear. We said that gas is here to stay. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we have cheap and reliable energy for two reasons. One, so that industry can actually prosper and be competitive. Again, that will create the jobs that help young people back into the jobs market. But it's also going to help people in this country to have lower bills. Because at the moment, bills is one of the biggest challenges we've got, whether it's groceries, energy bills, they just keep going up and up and up. And the nonsense that we heard from Ed Miliband during the week where he was claiming that bills were coming down, that is not the experience.
You saw that overnight.
That is not the experience of people.
Were you in the
shops.
Were you in the Commons yesterday when the Prime Minister? He looked like he got a couple of batteries working for him because he was jumping up and down saying energy bills have come down by £117. And about 3 hours later, Community noted him and said, "You're lying. They've gone up by 73 quid."
Bills are higher today than they were when they came into office, and that's as a result of this mad approach to net zero. Look, we all want to protect the environment, but we want to do it in a sensible way. We're not going to do it by bankrupting the country. We're only 1% of the world's emissions. It is an act of economic self-harm to pursue the policies.
So net zero would be banished under Reform?
Yeah, we've been very clear that we do want to protect the environment, don't get me wrong, most people do in this country, but we're not going to do it in this mad way that deindustrialises the country. There's still 2 million people in Britain who are working in heavy industry, in steel, in ceramics, in chemicals, in car making. All of those good jobs are going to go in the next 10 to 15 years unless we change course and do so sharply. It's only Reform that's going to be able to do that big change in the way in which we manage our energy policy.
So many people want to be on. God, this is difficult. I talked to you, Samara did a report on the son of a grooming rape gang man who took raped his mother, 14. She's no longer here, and his life. Jaden, by the way, if you didn't hear it half an hour ago, it will be on Drive Time with Kev after 4 o'clock and online. It's an amazing piece of work by Samara. Rachel has contacted on the back of Samara's report. Morning, Rachel.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Rachel from North Yorkshire. I've just listened to that brave young man talk about his experience of the grooming gangs, and I am absolutely appalled that he is being ignored, just like the rest of the survivors. It's an absolute stain on our society, but my ears really did prick up with the words Rupert Lowe. I've had my misgivings about his inquiry from day one. His inquiry has no statutory status whatsoever, so he cannot compel anybody to listen or to take action. So these girls, these women who have been through the most horrendous abuse are having to relive that abuse and have their words and their torment blasted all over social media. But when will they see justice? So I'm hoping that you and Robert Jenrick and your team there can really look into this. Thank you for listening to me. I'm genuinely concerned about that. Thanks, Jeremy. Bye.
That's come from nowhere. We'll deal with the Rupert Lowe thing because we've got another question in a sec. Tell me, please, God, that a Reform government would make a national inquiry into one of the biggest stains in this country's history, the rape gangs, because that's what it should be, immediately, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't know whether Labour will have even got their inquiry off the ground by the time of the next general election. I'm increasingly dubious because nothing seems to happen, does it? They were pushed into doing it, and now, month after month, nothing seems to happen. You have to question why this is. Who are they protecting? Is it the council leaders in these Labour areas of the country?
I think it goes so Bradford, deep or so high.
You know, is it more senior people, or is it just they're worried about taking on voters? You know, we've been talking about how sectarian voting is taking hold in much of the country right now, which is one of the saddest things that I see. Destroying communities at the moment. A Reform government will create a full national inquiry into the grooming scandal on day one, and it will go wherever the evidence leads. And I want to see everyone hauled before it. The council leaders, the council workers, the police, politicians, you name it, held to account, and justice finally brought for these victims.
Good. This is also, it's not even the elephant in the room, but this is from Jeff. Can you ask Robert Jenrick what he and Reform's thoughts are on Restore Britain? This is Rupert Lowe's new party. Momentum is definitely gathering. I am and will always be a huge Reform supporter, but I'm very concerned that with the emergence of another right-wing party, what will the end result be? Will it open the door to a Green Labour Liberal coalition? Are you worried, says Jeff?
Well, look, I chose to leave the Conservative Party, having been in it for many, many years, and that was a very difficult decision. Why did I do that? Well, partly because I felt the Conservative Party had failed and didn't deserve to be in government again, hadn't changed, wouldn't change, was run by exactly the same people who made all the mistakes in the past. But it was also because I saw the country slipping away, and I felt we had one shot at turning this thing around. I do believe we can turn the country around, but the next general election is going to be so critical. And so you've got to put personal ambition, party loyalty to one side and do what is right for the country. And the only way in which we can get rid of Labour is by ensuring that Nigel Farage is Prime Minister and Reform is in government. That is just the hard reality. You've got to deal in the world as it is, not the way you would like it to be.
So what are you
that
saying
is the
about
choice.
Restore Britain?
Well,
what
I'm saying anyone, frankly, who shares our values, whether they are Conservative supporters, whether they're people who are attracted to those other parties, they've got to be realistic that the only way in which we can turn the country around is to get Nigel into Downing Street and to get Reform into government. The choice at the next election is not going to be between these other parties. That's a complete distraction. The choice is going to be, do you want Nigel Farage and Reform, or do you want Keir Starmer, whoever has replaced him when he's kicked out, probably somebody much worse, and Labour? And you know what? It may even be worse than that, because it might be Labour in coalition with Zach Belansky and the Greens. That is the simple choice in almost every part of the country.
But let me get
Everything
this,
else is a distraction.
So let me get this straight, because this is important to say. Are you saying by that Rupert Lowe and Restore and Ben Habib and Advance, hear me out, should either come to Reform, to your party, because that will take out of the equation Labour getting back in? Are you saying that people should not look at Restore and Advance because they've no chance of winning? What are you saying?
Well, it's a free country. You can create a political party, you can stand for office. It's not for me to say what people do or don't do. But for the public out there listening to this programme, watching it, the choice is very clear. You know, this is one of the things that motivated me, because it was so obvious to me that we've got one shot at fixing the country. And the choice is simply, if Nigel is not Prime Minister after the next general election, it is going to be Keir Starmer or whoever replaces him on the left. Perhaps in coalition with the likes of Zach Belansky. I'm not prepared to see that as the future of my country. And so if you share my views, if you share the desire to fix the country and turn it around, you've got to support Nigel and you've got to rally behind Reform. That's the choice that I made, and that is just a hard reality. And I hope that millions and millions of people who are rallying to Reform at the moment will see that, and more will join them in the months ahead.
Good man. Let's go to June in Essex. June, we haven't got much time. You're through to Robert Jenrick.
Hello, good morning. Yes, I just wanted to know if Robert is going to be the Chancellor, are there any plans to raise the lower tax threshold from $12,000 a year?
Yeah, well, we have a long-standing ambition, which is to increase the personal allowance up to £20,000 if we can, so that we can help more and more people on lower incomes to get out of paying so much tax. To do that, because that's a big change, it's cost a lot of money. To do that, we firstly got to cut the waste that you're seeing right now, because government is spending so much money, and Reeves is just, spraying money around. And so you're going to be hearing more from us in the coming weeks and months as to how we're finding those savings. And there'll be things which I think most people in the country will agree with us are not in the interests of the British public. And also, we've got to get the economy going again so that we can create growth, create tax revenues in other ways. So it's going to take us time to get to that point. And you wouldn't want me to be on this programme making commitments that I can't keep. You've seen what happens when people play fast and loose. But that is what we want to do. We want to get to that point in the future. Okay. But I'm going to take a very careful, deliberative approach when it comes to tax and spend, because we've seen what happens when people make promises they can't keep. That is what Rachel Reeves did. She said no tax rises. She's increased taxes by £60 billion. That destroyed her reputation, but more importantly, it's been immensely harmful to the economy as well.
People, thank you so much indeed, June. Many people asking me to ask you this. Yesterday, the Metropolitan... I mean, it's extraordinary scenes in the Commons where Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, said, it were me that gave the information about Peter Mandelson to police. Mandelson was then arrested and came out, as Mandelson always does, and said, well, I'd arranged to walk in. This is a stitch-up. The Prince of Darkness said it again. It turns out it was Lindsay Hoyle as an informant, and yet again shines a light on the Met Police, who have given out the identity of somebody who was giving confidential information. What's Reform's position on the Metropolitan Police?
Well, it was staggering incompetence, wasn't it? That you give a tip-off to the police. Imagine it was you. You say that, I don't know, there's a drug dealer in the flat next door to you, and then the Met Police go and say to the drug dealer, oh, by the way, it was Jeremy who lives next door who told you. I mean, you've got to have confidence in these people, and time and again they make mistakes. We've seen this. Look at the Chief Constable in the West Midlands, the mistakes that he made over the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. It doesn't inspire confidence. That's got to change. And we've got to ensure that we can hold these failing chief constables to account when they make mistakes.
Julian in Newport. Good morning, Jessica. Could you ask Robert Jenrick if he thinks there should be a link between the minimum wage and the personal tax allowance? Could Reform guarantee to increase the personal tax allowance so that nobody working 20 hours a week on minimum wage pays tax? This means that every minimum wage increase raises the tax threshold, helping everyone.
Yeah, interesting policy. Look, we're going to give a lot of thought to all this stuff, but the people that we've got foremost in our thoughts are what we call our alarm clock, Richard, by which I mean, people who are getting up early.
My phrase.
They get it. Well, it was the right thing to say, wasn't it? Yeah. Who do Reform exist for? They exist for working people.
Yeah, that's true.
Particularly people who are finding life tough at the moment. So whether it's through tax or whether it's through getting your bills down, that's exactly what we're going to do to try and make your life better.
Final thing, some breaking news. The number of asylum seekers being housed temporarily in UK hotels has fallen to the lowest level for 18 months, standing at just over 30,600 at the end of 2025. Home Office figures have just shown, and my executive producer wants to know if you, Robert Jenrick, would like to congratulate Labour on this landmark.
No. Well, where are they? Oh, look, it's good to get them out of hotels. Everyone hates the hotels. That's the most expensive way to house people, so good in that sense. But where have they gone? It's not that the numbers are going down.
They haven't been deported,
we had a massive increase last year in the number of people coming across it. So where have they gone? They're either in HMOs, so that's you go and buy your dream home, and then you find out the next day that next door you've got 8, Afghan men who we know absolutely nothing about.
True.
Well, great. That's what you really want when you're bringing up your kids next door. Or they've been granted asylum, and now they're joining the social housing waiting list. So you're trying to get your kids onto a council house, and you suddenly find that there's a whole load of people who've just come into the country, new arrivals, economic migrants, essentially, who are ahead of you. That's not a good situation. What we've got to have is a simpler world in which they don't come in the first place.
You will clear the backlog, will you?
Well, there won't be a backlog because no one will be able to claim asylum. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? We've said day one our policy will be, which actually I did, Suella Braverman and I changed the law to say this when we were in the Home Office ourselves, and then Labour repealed it. Reform's policy is going to be very clear. You cannot claim asylum if you break into our country and come here illegally. You'll never, ever be able to be a refugee if that's what happens. So Yeah, there'll be some people who will claim asylum. There'll be genuine refugees, and there'll be very, very small numbers of people. You know, we had refugees in the past. We can all think of situations, you know, someone defects from Russia or Iran. You know, these are people we might want to welcome into our country and give sanctuary to. But there'll be tiny numbers of people. The days of economic migrants coming en masse to our country will be over.
I think you're really good at this. How fast has that 45 minutes gone? Thank you so much.
That was very quick, yeah.
Ring Rob. I promise you in 2 weeks' time.
Can we have a better jingle next time,
Yeah,
please?
I think the creative was crap. Robert Jenrick. No, don't look offended. He's absolutely right. I have to shoot off to the loo. Robert Jenrick, thank you
nice
very
to
much.
see you.
He'll be back in 2 weeks' time. 9:45. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 1 minutes to 10. Thank you to Robert Jenrick. If I'm out of breath, I managed to get to the loo and back. There was a queue. Robert Jenrick, Shadow Chancellor under a reform government, talking and taking every single call. Critical, otherwise, and he's going to do it every couple of weeks. That's what, to be honest, whatever your political persuasion, don't we feel that sort of openness is relevant? We had a guy on ranting at Robert Jenrick saying, I hope you never get anywhere near power. And he took that. That's the point of it, OK? I promise you a better jingle next time, because it was rubbish. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Very quickly, I want to check in with, she's a very important person, Deputy Editor of is it Deputy Comment Editor? Well, Annabelle Denham, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Fine. So much to go through. We'll have to do little bite-sized answers to all of this. The Chagos debacle has sort of folded further today, because apparently next on the Labour government's hit list is Gibraltar. There are rumours that that's going to be given away next. Have you heard that?
Well, there were rumours swirling around 18 months ago that we might surrender Gibraltar just as we are at the Chagos Islands. But let's not forget, Jeremy, that this Labour government now does sort of seem to be stumbling towards some kind of U-turn on surrendering those strategically important atolls, with the Foreign Office Minister Faulkner yesterday suggesting that there might be a pause in the process. Now, he's since backtracked on the remarks that he made in response to a question from Nigel Farage in the Commons chamber. But, it does beg the question, could this be Keir Starmer's, 15th or 16th U-turn? I certainly hope so in this instance, because there's never been a justification for this. The only one that the Labour government were able to give was that it had the support of the Americans, which of course it doesn't now, because we've had 2 interventions from Donald Trump.
Have you heard why Trump's finally turned against it? This is genius, because apparently under Starmer's barking idea, you have to let the Mauritians know if you want to use Diego Garcia to launch flights or attacks or whatever, which would mean that if Trump or the UK wanted to, say, bomb Iran, because they're mad and that might happen, we'd have to tell the Mauritians, who are best friends with the Chinese. I mean, you couldn't make the Starmer rubbish up, could you, in a million years? You really couldn't.
No, but this is just what we've come to expect from a Prime Minister who genuflects before international and human rights law, though he doesn't seem to have much regard for the human rights of the Chagosian people. But no, you're right, it's clearly an absurd situation. I can't imagine that the orange one in the White House was ever that supportive of this idea, but rather that it hadn't been raised in his in-tray. Now, we understand that Nigel Farage has been lobbying hard, along with senior members of the Conservative Party, getting it on up the president's in-tray, and now he is finally paying it due attention. But look, Mauritius is an ally of China. Were China to ever become even more aggressive in the South China Sea towards Taiwan, that would put us in an extremely weak, precarious position in terms of the response. So let's hope that this is the beginning of the end of this dreadful idea.
I don't know if you saw, 545 migrants arrived in 10 small boats yesterday. Annabelle, surprise, surprise, because it was sunny. We're still giving money to the French. I'd love your take on this briefly. For every one they've stopped, which isn't many, they've had £8,000. And we've had 66,000 migrants since Starmer became Prime. He has not got a plan or a clue to deal with this, has he?
Well, he would argue that his plan is to smash the gangs. We've heard that slogan a lot over the last nearly 2 years from the Labour government. But unfortunately, if you don't do anything about the demand, then you're going to find it very difficult to reduce the supply. There is a massive market for people smugglers to get migrants across the channel in small boats. And so long as that exists, then we won't see a reduction in the numbers coming over, which is why there have been record crossings under the Labour government. What you have to do is stop people from wanting to come here, stop those pull factors. Let's not forget they're coming from the safety of northern France. And the way that you do that is to make absolutely clear that if you come to this country illegally, you won't be able to stay. But Labour are far too timid to weak-willed to do that. So I think we can just expect large numbers to be coming across the channel until we boot them out of power.
I completely agree. Just finishing as well with a bit of breaking news. You might or might not have heard this. I put this to Robert just then. The number of asylum seekers being housed temporarily in UK hotels has fallen to the lowest level for 18 months, Labour have just announced. It stands at 30,657, Home Office figures say. So should we be congratulating Labour or not?
Well, look, I echo Robert Jenrick's thoughts on this, which is, OK, it's a good thing that we're able to close down asylum hotels because the cost is absolutely exorbitant. However, these people are no longer coming. They're not leaving the country. We're not deporting them. What is happening is that they're being housed in alternative accommodation, and often that's HMOs. And, if my concern actually is that there's a lack of transparency associated with that. If you have people in hotels, then you know that they're there. You know what the cost is. Whereas if they are put up in social housing of some kind, then it's all a little bit cloak and dagger. You don't quite know how much it's costing.
It's
to be
what
put
you...
onto council budgets and so on and so forth. And, you know, people are living on the street alongside houses packed full of migrants, and they may not be very comfortable with that.
Yeah, to sum it up, you're absolutely right. What you said is what I've said for a long time, and I completely agree with you. Stop making it so attractive to come here and be treated better than an indigenous population that's being taxed to its eyeballs. I'm sorry it was quick, but we're loving having you on. Please come on next week, and thank you for your time. Annabel Denham, a Deputy Comment Editor for The Telegraph. This is Talk Breakfast.
Breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Mr. Mandarin, how long do you think that you can stay on the island?
We're going to stay forever. Our rights have to be respected now. We're going to stay.
Do you expect Jeremy Clarkson to become a part of your new party?
I can tell you, if Jeremy Clarkson decided to darken my doorstep, I would be absolutely delighted.
On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, almost done. Julia on the way. Thank you to the amazing Christians and Nahal, to Big Mark and to G-Spot. We found him. Maddie, good morning.
Joseph, this is Maddie calling in from Essex. I like to consider myself to be a proud Indian British woman. With regards to the elites and the lefties always using the past colonisation as an excuse for everything, it's actually damn right insulting. They have no idea how we feel, and they do not speak for the majority of us. You know, we acknowledge the shame of your ancestors, and thanks for that. But in the interim, don't ruin this great country because of the chip on your shoulder, as we can't change the past. And I can assure you that if my parents, who came here in the 1960s, would have ever thought that in the area that they live in is overrun by more mosques than there are churches, I doubt very much if they would have come to this country. Thank you very much.
What a really powerful voice note to finish breakfast. Julia, good morning.
Very good morning to you. Yeah, we actually, by the way, interesting, we've got some of the latest new immigration statistics, and I know that the government is going to be all sort of, oh, aren't we clever? Haven't we done a really good job? Because the number of people being housed in asylum hotels is down. But you know why? Because they've all been put into flats.
Well, I was going to say, it would be all right if you deported them, but they've just been spread out, right?
Yeah, they've just disappeared.
Yeah, disappeared to do whatever.
You know, working on their delivery bikes.
Gibraltar's next after Chagos. Gibraltar's going.
Give everything, yeah, and the Falklands and don't.
The Isle of Wight, the Isle of Sheppey, the Isle of Dogs, the Isle of Man. It's all going.
It's all. Every single thing is just absolute abject chaos. Every single day. I'm literally starting every show going, really? How bad is it?